Boom. We are going. We are going. All the clicks. Boom, click. Boom, boom, click. Okay. Hello, friends. Hello, anybody who's there? We're just going to jump right into it. Got a lot to do tonight, and the sets are a little bit scary. So, Jason, welcome. First and... Gonna be an interesting one. Mikhail, Standam, Trent, Garage. Hello, friends. Welcome to the documentation of my suffering. Fun times about to be had. I was on Pokemon Go adventures all day yesterday, so I did a lot of walking, and so I'm a little bit tired for these. But this is also like 4 hours earlier than last time, so. Standam, yes, I'm staying at 105. I'm trying to grow into 105, to be honest. It's a work in progress. Jason, I think having a home gym is beneficial for some people because you have more control of a lot of factors. You don't have to worry about holidays. You don't have to worry about times. You don't have to worry about gym memberships or anything like that. I think that some people really benefit from having the more focused environment of kind of you're in your own space. I think that some people also would get really lonely. So, Trent, people still play Pokemon Go. I do. My girlfriend does. And I don't care who judges us for it. Awesome. My initially when the game came out, my phone couldn't support it, so I tried to play it and it would just crash anyway, but I stuck it out. But now I have a newer phone that actually plays it really well, so we went down to Seattle. I got some really amazing pictures of Seattle and how pretty it can look. I normally don't like that city, but for Pokemon, it gives me a reason to go visit. My favorite Pokemon is Snorlax, ever since I was a kid. I had a Snorlax collection. I'm actually really glad. I have this rule about tattoos that's going to make sense in a second, where I have to think about, if I want a tattoo in my life, I made this decision that I'd have to want the same thing for 10 years, because when I came up with that rule, I decided that 10-year-old Ben would have gotten a giant Snorlax tattooed on his back, which would have been awesome, but it also would have been a little bit awkward. So, he's my spirit animal Pokemon. And right there, I mean, first 5 minutes of the stream, we're already talking about nerdy stuff. Normally it takes a couple hours for people to figure out that I do more than just lift things. So we're already in that jump right into the nerdy zone. Five, 605, and then set 1. Wigglytuff is my fave, don't judge. Is the coolest name. Wigglytuff. I'm not going to do the voice. I'm going to wait till we get a little further into the stream before I completely ruin all bro cred I have. I'm going to turn on some a clock with a stopwatch so that I can track my rest periods a little bit. Make that happen. Jason, weirdest gym relating thing I've ever experienced? Oh man. I've been in a lot of gyms, man. Can you narrow that down a little bit as like what kind of thing you're talking about? Like weirdest thing that's happened to me, weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've blown out the crotch of multiple sweatpants in gyms before. That was always fun. Or Made the mistake of training high rep squats after Taco Bell the night before. That required a run to the restroom. Aram, Jigglypuff all day. Good stuff, man. Jason, one of the toughest things I've ever done in the gym was deciding to be a powerlifter and cursing myself to have to bench press and squat occasionally. That's the biggest mistake I ever made in the gym, and also the greatest blessing. Stand Am next meet is officially Raw Nationals in October down in Orlando. I might take something in between. Large African, does being strong give you added attention to girls or from girls? I mean, doesn't hurt. Strength's never a weakness, right? I'm in a committed relationship, so I'm not really trying to attract a whole lot of people, but I've been doing it for a long time, had pretty decent luck. If you have a crappy personality and you're strong, doesn't matter. Then you're just a really strong guy with a douchebag. But if you're a good guy and you happen to be strong, I think that could be seen as a beneficial thing. Tom, hey Ben, do you ever do higher reps like 7 to 10 for squat bench dead, and when do you start to taper lower for the meet? My coaches have me do. Currently, I've got on Monday my squats are 5 sets of 8, and I hate every single Monday because I'm really bad at conditioning. My high rep work is pretty poor, but yeah. So we taper into a meet. Although in the Raw Nationals last year, going into October, my main working sets were still at 4 reps. I would do like one top set for my squat work that was, a triple or a double or something, but most of the bulk of my work was being done in the 4 rep range, and I had at that time the best meet that I'd had at that body weight. So really it's very dependent on the individual, what works best for them. I have some of my athletes come in doing a little bit more volume, some higher rep sets. Usually though, you want to try and bring it down so that you can improve or increase the intensity range that you're working in. And high rep sets break down really quickly, especially in higher intensity ranges, so you have to be very careful when you're messing with those factors. Kyle, there are many good strength training programs, but they don't seem to fit my goals as an athlete or accommodate my life schedule. Should I keep trying to make those work or create one of my own? Create one of your own or hire a coach. Stan, my coaches are Eric and Hanny. Yep, they tag team to make sure that no muscle group, no lift is left undestroyed. Kyle, like, people recommend these programs because they're proven to work. If it doesn't work with you, that's proof that it doesn't always work for everybody. So your goals are specific to you. The program needs to be specific to you. If you have general goals, then a general program will work better. And if you have general weaknesses, then a lot of those things are addressed. But otherwise, you need to make sure that your training matches what your goals are. Thumb wiggler, I do not train my calves directly. No. I have in the past. Sometimes I do to help with my knees. It tends to help me avoid knee pain when I'm training my calves. That's just anecdotal. I don't have any scientific studies that I know of that back that up, but Stand down. Yep, I love the boys, the Strength Athlete. TSA, check them out if you haven't. Bryce Lewis, Chris Aiden, Eric Bodhorn, Hanny Jezarelli, and Joey Stanek. What's my top set today? Every pause deadlift day we'll work up to 675 beltless, because that's my weight cap for my top single, which I agree with. And then we're gonna have 630 is the main working set. So we got the main working weight. We've got 2 sets of 4 there with the pauses, and then 2 sets of 4 there without the pauses. In the past couple of weeks, the 2 sets without the pauses have actually been tougher because they're the last 2 sets probably. But we're getting into it. Trying to get my hips nice and ready to go. I'm not just wiggling because I feel like wiggling. That too. I also love to wiggle. Oh boy. Gonna be fun. Gotcha. Also, Stan, if you're ever curious, whenever I do one of these, which I think I'm going to try and keep them to Tuesdays and Saturdays, because those are the workouts I feel like I can actually have conversations with people on, because the squats just wreck my ability to talk in between sets. The workouts are always listed in the descriptions, so you guys can always know. Alex, welcome back. Thumb Wiggler, how's your training based, RPE or percentages? Combination of both. I think that I personally am really bad at gauging submaximal RPEs. I think a lot of people are, because you can get yourself in trouble thinking like, oh, I could have done a few more, or trying to give yourself, I don't want to do anymore. And so sometimes it's helpful to have I think percentage-based training, when you have a coach who's actually adjusting your percentages or adjusting the weights that you're doing, is preferable, because then you're not having to auto-regulate things. They are regulating it based off of your feedback, or at least they should be, if your coach is a good coach. What's your curl 1 rep max? All of it. I've never tried to curl anything more than 135, and I did it successfully, if not ill-advisedly. Okay, thanks. You're welcome, sir. Yeah, I generally, we have some top set things that are kind of RPE based for my benching today. After the deadlifts, I have 7 triples that are percentage based on a kind of standard progression, and then I'll have a top set single that's at an RPE. So I'll just gauge that as my 3rd set. Whatever I end up taking is what it'll be. Thumbler, do I like my current training? Yeah, I like it, and effective training, when you've gotten to the point where I've gotten, tends to have kind of a love-hate relationship, where you love working, you love putting in the work, you have to love it, but there are individual training days that aren't as exciting, and so there are many days that you have to work without having specific, maybe not being motivationally driven. You're driven by qualitative decision making. I want the quality of the product that I want to produce drives me to make decisions that may be at odds with how I'm currently feeling. That's being a mentally resilient athlete versus being someone who just kind of likes to lift. Where are you right now doesn't look like your normal garage. This has been normal since the end of last month. So I'm in Montesano. I moved from Ellensburg. I'm here for a couple of months, and then I'll probably relocate again towards the Kent or I-5 sector in Washington State. We only have one stoplight here. Fun fact. Alex, how did your bench width come to be with a bad shoulder? Because I've been benching for 16, 17 years, and I've had a bad shoulder for 10 plus of those years. So there was a period of time where for a few years I competed with a close grip bench, because this is as far as I could move my hands out without my shoulder feeling really, really bad. Now I can move out to about the maximum grip width, or legal grip width, and be able to mostly contain my shoulder issue. The problem when I get to super heavy weights for me is never that I'm pushing and I miss it because I don't have the strength to lock it out. It's usually because this shoulder caves, and it's not because there's something that's physically happening. It kind of subconsciously is trying to protect itself. So it can happen really anytime that I'm tired and pressing and not focused completely on where my positioning of my elbows are. And sometimes even when I am, if the weight's just heavy or I'm just fatigued in the set, it'll do the same thing. Yep, another set, 405. We're moving a little faster today. A wee bit quicker. I don't need to film yet. Did you do the swag thing again? That's it's more like a just kind of naturally comes out. You can't control when the swag strikes. Okay, where are we at? We're gonna move up a little bit. Cool, haha. It's Colin Kendricks. Damn, 1 to 10. What are you referring to, good sir? 1 to 10. I do not know. Like Kendrick Lamar's stuff? It's the only Kendrick I can think of off the top of my head. How many days a week do I train or take completely off? I train 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And I rest. I don't really rest on those other days. I'm supposed to rest on those other days. I very rarely rest fully. And I do a lot of mobility and other things as well. Uh-oh. Stick with me, stream. Come on, don't play this game. Pleasure myself to Candido. Are you a machine hybrid? I try to be, but I am a people. What's my max bench press touch and go? I have no idea. I never train top sets with touch and go. I always make sure that I pause my top sets because that's what I gotta do in a competition. So that's all I care about. OBS being a little jerk. All right. Oh, it's just going to go the way it wants to go. All right. Sup, friends? William, welcome back. All right. Yeah, I'm going to stay on top of that. Try to make sure that the stream doesn't cut out for you guys. Because I don't know why it does it. My OBS doesn't like me. I don't think it's the internet. My internet's connected pretty solidly. So we're just come on. Video lost. We're trying so hard. Trying so hard to make this work. Come on. Don't do this to me. Yeah, it's the video output on my computer for some reason. Maybe the resolution. Good Lord. Yep. We're holding at 27 kilobits per second now. Let's see if it stays. Nothing else running in the background. Should be fine. Wilson. Don't do this to me. Come on. It's literally just going up and down. Anybody have a better streaming software that is not OBS? Because this thing consistently now is maybe, but it's just, it doesn't seem to do very well with me. Oh boy. Working now. Yeah, we've lost it. We're going back and forth. Back and forth. It's literally going up and down. Let's see if I turn off my phone's data, anything to help at this point. Anything to help at this point. I'm here for you. We've lost Benjamin. That's crazy. He thought YouTube provided software. It makes you have your own encoding software, Alex. You have to use your own encoding software, and then it streams it to YouTube. And I don't think YouTube's the problem. I don't think so. I think what's happening is that my computer is just not digging the... Because what happens when the stream goes down and I fix it is I close the OBS software really quickly and then restart it, hopefully in time that it doesn't segment the stream up so it's in multiple videos, because I don't want that to happen. Ask the IPF? What do you ask, Joshua Brown? You might get banned, though. Might get banned for having bad streams because my computer is bad. Anybody who wants to contribute to a better, smoother stream experience, please consider the new super chat mode. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. All right, it's holding strong now. We didn't lose you that long, no big deal at the moment. Yeah, I hope not, because I'm over here stressing about it, trying to get it to work. And I should be stressing about these deadlifts. This is a year ago. One set of 4 at this weight would be or not at this weight, but at the working weight would be a PR. So I'm trying to hide my nerves and anxiousness. I think it'll be fine based on how training's been going, but it's just kind of trippy to think about that. All right. Holding strong for now. I can see the little green. I really hope it doesn't... What we figured out on Tuesday is that if I set the bar down gently, then my computer doesn't get as mad. But I don't know if I can do that once we get to the working sets. Now we watch. It's holding strong. Fingers crossed, boys. I'm back. It's sketchy, seems fine. Ask Matt Ogus what webcam software he uses. Yeah. I don't think it's so much the webcam. I think it's literally the software that you use to encode the video. And I think that's so you guys don't come and destroy my computer with virusy things. I'm not very tech savvy. I lift weights. That's what I do. I lift weights and I try to help other people lift weights better. So, good news is I feel pretty okay today in terms of strength. The Pokemon Go adventure doesn't seem to have taken too much out of my legs. Maybe it was active recovery. I think it's active recovery. That's all that was. So we'll go. If it gets too bad and gets too choppy, then we'll end it early. But either way, after this, I'm going to be editing another 2 videos, and those are going to come up in the next couple of days. One probably early in the morning, because I can make that content again, so I really want to start doing it now that I have enough free space on the computer, which I thought would fix the issue of the encoding software, but apparently my computer's still working so hard. And I don't want to drop the resolution anymore because it's already kind of potato cammy. And so if it's having a hard time rendering this resolution before it goes through, I don't know if it would. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. We'll adjust. We'll use whatever's going on and we'll adjust. So, let me see. It's only 9 o'clock here. That's way earlier. Last week we didn't start till midnight. Go pull that ish. I did pull the ish. I pulled it. IPF has great streams in past. Maybe someone knows. Freudian slip intended. You got it. Uh-oh. Lower back super tightness from pause squats that translate to the rest of the week. It's annoying, to say the least. Any tips, suggestions? Make sure that your mobility matches the intent of your normal work. You need to make sure that you can only be as effective in the gym as your recovery allows, and so you need to make sure that you're putting as much work into your recovery as necessary to be able to make progress in the gym. If your gym time is suffering, if your ability to train effectively isn't going well, then you can change that by focusing on your mobility work, focusing on getting enough sleep, stretching, rolling, monitoring your diet, what kinds of things you're having, so you have enough energy and enough positive variables that are pushing you towards getting better. It's Colin. Okay, favorite album of 2016. Was it 2016? Ed Sheeran's Divide. That's Ed Sheeran's my favorite artist. Put some pillows under the weights or something. Oh, for the no. I'll try to focus on controlling it on the way down. These are pause dead, so it shouldn't be too crazy. We'll see when it gets up in the mid 600s. You're a music guy. What do you like in the gym? Lots of different things. During my squats this last week, I was just looping the Inception main theme song, and that worked for me. Usually something like EDM or something that's high energy and doesn't have a lot of lyrics, because I get stuck on the lyrics when I'm thinking about them, and I want to try and bring my focus to what I'm doing and not thinking about the music as much. And right now I don't train with music when I'm streaming, so I try not to train with music very much. I see those color changes freak me out. Lost in the comments when your stream went down. Haha, repost. Who are your favorite current lifters? Also, do you have neighbors? Deadlifts can get pretty loud. I do have neighbors, but they're a fair distance away, and even though the deadlifts are loud, it gets a little bit muffled with the matting that we have is pretty thick, so it doesn't travel too far outside the garage. Hey, Big Lenny's back. Hello, sir. Daniel, hey Ben, thanks for streaming. Do you always put conscious technical effort, or do you ever say, Finn, just lift as hard as possible, let's say about 85% and above? It's got to be technical, because when you get to a certain point, you can't just say F it. At a certain point, lifting isn't about your emotional state, it's about your ability to execute what you've worked on, because you've refined the positions in a way that if you are out of position, that you won't be mechanically able to get the lift. You can't get stronger than bad mechanics. At a certain point, you run out of the ability to just kind of push through it, especially in your higher weight ranges. So I really try to focus on keeping even my warm-ups relatively close to the same sort of idea with the setup and the positions and the technical integrity that I would on my top sets. So even when you feel beat up and it sucks and it hurts 10 times more to stay in the groove and try to fight for those positions, for your training to be effective as a power lifter, you still need to make sure that that's your primary focus, because your training, whatever you're training is what you're training. If you're practicing the lifts correctly, then you're ingraining good habits and you're practicing the right technique. If you're practicing them poorly because you're being lazy and you're not hitting your positions or valuing your positions, then you are practicing wrong things, and you will get better at doing the wrong thing, which is not what you want at a high level when you get to a competition. 11:19 in Houston, Anthony. Yep. Well, last week we didn't start till midnight here in the Pacific Northwest, Pacific Standard Time. So stand down if you think rolling out is what you need because everything else is taken care of. Yep. There's always something we can improve, right? Even if we think we're doing everything right, if you challenge yourself to find one thing, you can work on it. Tom, you love the stream. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I love doing them. I wish my computer wasn't trying to shut down on it. Stick with me, OBS. Big Lenny, I did Google Big Lenny after that last session. I wish I hadn't. That was unfortunate for everybody involved. KC, Ben, may I know which supplemental work should use higher or lower 1 rep max percentages from the big three? For instance, pin squat, should it be lower or higher than the actual squat weights, board press? It depends on the lifter, where you get stuck, why you're using the movement. My thing and if you watch any of the other streams, I always come back to the same idea. You need to have a solid reason for why you're doing what you're doing in your training. If you can't defend something's existence in your program, then you probably shouldn't have it in your program. And in terms of like using variant lifts, I think that the weight is much less important than the stimulus that you are trying to affect and whatever you're trying to create in that. So if you're doing a pin squat, why are you doing the pin squat? You're doing the pin squat to hold all your positions in a position with zero momentum from the bottom. In that case, you're probably going to use a little bit less weight, right? Because that's not going to allow you to use the benefit of that momentum. So that's how it goes. Basically, always make sure that the reason you're doing whatever it is that you're doing in your program matches the way that you're doing it. And if you're really bad if your lockouts are bad on your deadlift because you're out of position at the start doing heavy rack pulls and forcing yourself into a position you're never going to go through in your actual deadlift isn't going to help your lockout, because the problem is starting off the floor. So just make sure that you're using your critical thinking and your best judgment, and then how to adjust those supplemental lifts, working weights, and how much do they differ from the actual big three. It really depends on the lifter, your leverages, where you're strongest, where you're weakest. And yeah, console or PC. Even my laptop's pooping out on this stream, so I'm not really feeling the PC right now. I have a PlayStation 4 that my girlfriend got me for my birthday a little while ago. 12:23 there in Puerto Rico. Where AM or PM? You should be AM, right? I think. Amiro, for low bar squat, do you break the knee or hip first? You load the glutes first, and the knees will naturally break when they should if you're a low bar squatter and with what I would say semi-normal leverages. If you're doing that and it's not working, then try the other thing and see if it works more. Ben doesn't enjoy the ments. Did I miss something? J Cream, you asked earlier, what did I major in? I majored in vocal performance music and American Sign Language. I minored in American Sign Language. I switched to a BA just in general music after I had done my performance studies for about 6 years. Big Lenny, the Tom Platz of abs, donated. That's a big deal for me. That's the first time that's happened. I tried to figure out people were asking me if I would monetize the stream because I'm a little poor boy. And I love doing this. So thank you, Big Lenny. Dinsmore B. Keep up the good work. I felt like I'm going to pass out when deadlift. How do I breathe properly? I watched your video, but I'm still having trouble breathing while deadlifting. Practice. Practice. If you don't practice something, you won't be able to implement it right away. And so lay on the ground, focus on diaphragmatic breathing, getting a deep breath in, expanding down here, and then make sure that you're practicing with low enough rep sets that you're not getting totally thrown off when you get up. If you're doing like high rep sets and your conditioning is a factor, then breathing for bracing is going to screw you up. So you have to make sure that you're in good enough shape to do the rep ranges that are required for your work capacity. So just keep that in mind. I hope that helps. Keep practicing. None of the skills when it comes to lifting are things that you want to stop practicing, because if you don't use it, you lose it in this sport. And if even if you've been doing it for a very long time, if you start doing the reps and you going through the motions without hitting your cues and hitting your positions and breathing properly, you're going to see a drop in your performance, and it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. I've been doing this, I always say I've been doing this for 17 years. I've only ever done one squat that I think was right. So, Standam, what's your conventional deadlift PR on a stiff bar? I haven't tried on a truly stiff bar. At the old rec center, I think I did 640 for a triple, and it was not a deadlift bar, it was just a regular bar. But I also don't trust what those weights were as the plates. Daniel, do I have any experience with Shaco? Yes, I ran his CMS number 2 routine like 15 times throughout my training. I really liked it, but I think that it's you wanna try and find something that's, if you're gonna use something like that, use it as a skeletal outline for how you set up your training, and then make sure you program for yourself based on you as an individual lifter. Yes, anybody who's asking, Lenny did donate money. He used the new super chat function that we got unlocked. I was really nervous to even set that up, but I really appreciate it. It's as much as I do love doing this for free, and I'll continue to do this for free, but if anybody is if anybody appreciates the information that some people do pay me for as my main job, I am a coach full time. If anybody wants to donate, please don't feel pressured. Please don't feel like you have to. Please don't feel like it's going to none of my content will ever be hidden behind a money wall or a paywall. It's purely there as an option for people who want to help me out in a different way. It's very much appreciated, very much not a requirement, and don't feel ashamed if that's not in a place you're at, if it doesn't suit your means or interest. If you had to give up completely 2 out of the 3 lifts from bench, deads, and squats and just keep one, which would it be hypothetically? I would never bench again, and I would maybe switch my squat to something else, and I would just keep deadlifting. Because deadlifting is the only one where I don't have something trying to crush me. So if you're having a bad deadlift day, you let go of the bar and it's over. If you're having a bad squat day, you still have to get out of the bottom of the squat. If you're having a bad bench day, you still have to unbury yourself from the bench. Oh, Mens is the big Lenny Del Rey Misfits meme. Oh, goodness. I'm staying out of your guys' internet dramas on that. Jonathan, do I feel a difference from the plates I used to train and the competition plates? Not as much as I used to, because I train on the Ohio Power Bar, which is stiff enough that it doesn't make a huge difference. If I was training on a deadlift bar, then the difference is very noticeable, which happened to me at a meet when I was lifting in the USPA. So good lad, Lenny. Yes, Lenny, you're gold. It's Colin, what got you the most numbers? Genetics, highly technical and precise training, perfect RP and exercise selection, smashing YOLO programs, and small log over and over again. Just doing different things and learning from it over a very long amount of time. I think that many people could find, I think that honestly the most numbers, the most progress I made is the result of the personality trait of aspiring to be my best at whatever it is that I do. And so I really fell in love with the pursuit of strength and just completely focused my life around it. So that's it. Go Polish like a boss. Yeah, don't get cold. We're working through it. I don't want to, this is going to be a little bit longer rest periods in general because the weights are going to start getting a little bit heavy, but I already pulled this, right? I think I did. Doesn't matter either way. over 6, we'll go ahead and film on the actual camera too. Might make it into one of the YouTube videos. Just double check that no one's yelling that I skipped 495 and jumped straight to 605. He did pull it. Okay, thank you, Anthony. Yeah, that could have been. I think it's low enough in the relative intensity range that it wouldn't have like ruined my day, but it definitely wouldn't have felt good jumping 180 or 200 pounds, jumping 200 pounds from 405 to 605. I'm just going to put the top set on here. That was 39 minutes in. How's that compare to last week? Pretty close, actually, so not too bad. Entertainment, Pupperfaust. Oh, okay, meant. Man. Remember when words used to be the whole word? Yeah, that was lit. Or legit. That legit turned into lit. I've known that, but it hasn't made me as sad as it did in this moment right now that we all just got to share right there. Oh, man. Big Lenny, it was only $2 because I'm a poor boy too. Hey, you know what? I appreciate it all the more, man. Oh, man, you pretty much just made up my entire month's worth of AdSense right there. Rip YouTube. Don't get cold. Yeah, it's Colin. Thank you for reminding me. I do have a tendency to get so involved in the hangout times that I sometimes take longer rest periods than I need. That was easier than it needed to be. Josh, you pop capillaries around your eyes when you pull heavy. That's a thing. If you're holding your breath, using that Valsalva, trying to force it spikes your blood pressure around your eyes. I had a buddy who got kind of nicked right in this area, right under his eye. Someone bumped into him, and he pulled heavy, and the entire white of his eye turned red. It was cool. Probably not good for you. A lot of times after a meet, I will look and I will have little dots around my chest and my back from capillaries up here, because I hold a lot of tension in my upper back and my kind of that shoulder girdle. All right. J-Cream, it's pretty hard for me to know if I'm using the correct RPE. Let's say you do 4x8 at 7, and first few sets feel like a 7. By the fourth set, you know that if you stay with the same weight, it'll be like a 9. Do you lower the weight? It's tough, man. Ask your coach or check in the program if it has notes on that of how to go about it. Is it asking for your last set RPE? Because if it's just normally that would constitute that you're accruing 2 reps worth of fatigue, and so that's pretty tough. I'm also very terrible at gauging my own RPEs, because if I can do it once, I can do it many times usually. And I always use this example of someone, if I can tell when I'm at a 9 or a 10, that's no problem at all. But if I'm in the middle of a set of squats, let's say I'm doing sets of 8, I want to be done at rep 5. But I could do 10 to 15 reps with that weight almost every single time. It's a matter of, if you ask me how many more did I have if I felt like doing it, or how many more do I have if my girlfriend and family had someone here with a psychopath holding a gun to their head, your mentality, your motivation does play a factor, as much as I try to be really just objective in my decision making on that. But if you're not good at being objective in the moment of deciding whether or not you honestly could do 1 more rep, 2 more reps, or 5 more reps, and the further you get away from one, the less accurate you're going to be, because there's a lot of other factors. Did you misgroove? Are you losing bar speed because you're getting a pump in your glutes? It's a lot of things. So, when in doubt, lower the weight. I will say it is far better to make the decision of not going hard enough and staying in the sport longer and focusing on longevity, because you can always add more weight if it was too easy, but once you go past that point where you hurt yourself or it's too much, then it's really hard to backtrack. I always tell that to my lifters, and I try to use that myself. Emerald loves using hook grip. I do as well. I hate it and love it. It pretty much feels about the same now. After 405, everything feels the same. So, Alex, who cares about warm-ups? We freaks. He did, yeah, and Anthony, let me know. Hey, what's up, ice cream? Leonard at Pith training on some patients tonight. You boys with your memes. Just needs mopped. So, YOLO Smolov over and over. Not really. I did Smolov a few times. I found a way that I thought I had justified it and was making smart decisions. The reason Smolov seemed to work for me was because I used a light enough training max that I was able to practice the technique and get really proficient with my squat. I think that was a bigger deal, and it helped me build my mental resilience. But I still, to this day, think that the one thing that has been the biggest benefit to me, and that is the one thing that has led to me being successful in this, is that I've just done it for a long time, remained relatively injury-free. I've had a few injuries, but I've always been consistent in coming back from them. And I've been patient and stuck through the times when you hit a sticking point, where a lot of other people who I've seen in the sport don't want to stick with it once the progress stops being fun and motivating, because it's coming all the time and you have to wait 3 years for a PR to happen. Loving the swag wiggle. It's just kind of like my default setting. Someone at Nationals told me that I was way more upbeat in person than they were used to in my videos, and it's because I think about different things when I'm in the middle of a lift or when I'm commentating a video, but as soon as it's done, I don't have a reason to hold that focus anymore. So, Daniel, do you ever go on #PLG? It's calm. Please don't play Ed Sheeran for your top sets. There will be no music during the stream for any of my lifting. I don't need it to lift. I don't need music to lift. I've weaned myself off of it. I'm capable of hitting the same numbers with or without music. Usually it just helps with longer workouts that I don't feel like doing a whole lot of. If it's a bunch of sets where I just will drift too much in between the sets and never get back to doing it, then I listen to music. But I'm not going to be playing any music. You just taught me lit is short for legit, so that makes 2 of us. I knew it, but it just makes me sad. Is legit we need to get rid of more of those syllables. Eventually it'll be oh man, that was so Thanks, language. Big Lenny again? Another one with the cute little. That's adorable. That's adorable. Maybe too many equal signs there, bud. Come on. What are you trying to project here? Puppet Faust, I'm sorry, Ben, the world is changing, not for the better. It's changing the way it's changing. Not good, bad, whatever. It's just the way it is. So that's it. I didn't know that either. Lit. I actually got eye migraine and started seeing flashes in some of the salvo maneuvers, I'm pretty sure. Sometimes I get lightheaded and I'll see little sparkles. Usually in squats, and it makes it's this really cool feeling after you do the lift. But yeah, my squats always feel way harder than they actually are. Man, it's tough to gauge what you're experiencing and what your body's trying to tell you versus reality. A lot of people go to meets myself included, and they come away from it thinking like, oh, I didn't do what I expected, or I didn't meet my expectations, because there's usually a break between your expectations and reality. Objective reality is kind of a trippy thing. Anthony, do you use pre-workout supplements and take creatine? I do take creatine. I do not generally take any official pre-workout supplements. I sometimes take a caffeine pill, 200 milligrams of caffeine. My pre-workout usually consists of slamming a can of V8 vegetable juice that I hate, and 2 cups of egg whites for just protein and some sodium and some salt. From the V8 has the sodium and the salt. The egg whites are just 50 grams of protein. And that's what I do. Lenny, hopefully my credit card doesn't get hacked or something by some cookie cutters. Well, you might fund my ability to get a computer that doesn't die halfway through a stream. That'd be interesting. Oh, the penis donation. You boys, you silly boys. It's calling YOLO Shaco over and over again then. It's a combination of things. I've done a lot of different programs, and I've learned from each of them whether they've been effective or not. It's really just pick some things, try them out long enough, or get a coach or someone to help you, lead you through the process. If you're not willing to put in the time, and not you specifically, this is the general you, you can get better by having someone lead you through the process, or you can get better by trying enough different things and trial and erroring your way through it. Just make sure that you always use light enough weights that you don't injure yourself permanently and take you out. So, J Cream, we're going to come back. I'm going to do this top set because I'm feeling it, boys. I'm feeling the lift things. Huzzah! This is the 3rd week in a row with 675 on the bar. I'm less worried about this than I am about the back offsets, because hook grip makes everything too easy, even without a belt. But that's why we practice it, right? So it stays too easy. In before I do something silly and mess up and embarrass myself. You guys are all here for it, though. I'm going to try to make these pauses as legit as possible so that it continues to improve each week, even with the same weight. Oh, I'm going to watch the playback. Smooth stop. 1, 2. Decent. May have rebent the knees a little bit at the top. Trying to really hold the lockout, but not bad. Nice and comfy. Nice and comfy. It's a good thing that we stopped the weight there, though, because with those kind of things, I'd probably try to add more, and I don't need to be doing more than that right now. So, thanks for being there, Ben. Mountain sling is terrible. Lift. That is Fleek Boy Bay Savage. Oy vey, Jose. I want to run away with the woods every time I hear those words. Yep, well, don't let... try not to let it get you too down. We still have to exist. Monroe, what about your bench press? How many times do you hit deadlift in a week? I hit deadlift twice. Tuesdays are conventional beltless deads currently. And then Saturdays are paused sumo deadlifts. It's the deadlift stuff in a week. I bench press 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. There's always bench pressing included in my low body lifts. And I do Monday and Thursday are my squats. I have 5 sets of 8 on squats currently Mondays, and 3 sets of 6 and a top set of 4 for my pause squats on Thursdays. So lots of fun, all the good stuff. Big Lenny, I'm majoring in oh, you're talking to each other. That's awesome. You're hacking a server right now, accessing the credit card. Access it, link it over here. Punishment for being kind and trying to keep me being able to feed my cat for another week. I have not met Zahir in real life, Jason. Not enough equal signs, pal. Yeah, okay. Squats are awesome. You're a hacksaw. About majoring in computer science, you like it. Gen Ed right now. Blah, blah, blah. Am I a Gatorade fan? I haven't had Gatorade or Powerade since I was in high school football because they were provided to us during 2-a-day practices in the summer. Not managed. You guys are no crabs, no carbs. Spray the cooking oil on a frozen fish to confuse the pan. You boys, you silly boyness. Georges, hello, my friend. Hello. Greetings and good morning from Greece. Yes, I remember. Welcome back. Good Lord, the time zone's all over. Only time that matters, however, is money time. Oh, man, Ray Williams. Dude, have you seen Genova's recent cooking video? It's so funny. Man, I avoid from that. Top set music. I love Shape of You. Push and pull like a magnet, too. Oh, man. No Ed in the gym? I did an entire training block once to Ed Sheeran songs. I'm not ashamed. Have you heard You Need Me, I Don't Need You? That song you can lift some weights to. And take it back. My boy Ed. On our album that we did, my favorite song was when we did the cover of Ed Sheeran's I'm a Mess. That was my passion piece. So, buying the first powerlifting belt, 10 millimeter or 13 millimeter. Dinsmore, I use a 13 millimeter and always have. I think you can learn to lift in either or. I've always used a 13 and I enjoy it. So, that's my advice for that. I've seen some people say that it's too thick for them. I have never experienced that. Lenny, dude puts frozen fish and veggies in a frying pan and starts spraying the fish with cooking spray. Cooking confusion. Big Lenny, someone else asked this too, my opinion on the new Kendrick album. I don't generally listen a whole lot to hip-hop. I like some hip-hop, and I want to learn more about it. I spent a couple of weeks once trying to get more of a better understanding of the culture, the hip-hop culture, and I'm more interested in the stories behind the artists than the actual music itself. I like the lyricism of hip-hop, and usually the good lyricists, I enjoy the passion that they put into the music that they're making. But for the most part, I'm not as drawn to hip-hop as I am to other music genres. But there are some hip-hop artists that I really enjoy. Ben, try to get a subscriber or fan to weld you a deadlift jack? Nah, man. Loading the weights is part of the workout. Deadlift jacks get in the way and they slow me down. And I already take long enough rest periods. I don't need to be pulling the bar up in between. That was 49 minutes. We need to do this first back off set here. That was an RPE question mark, by the way, because I have no idea how hard that felt for the top set. It was fine. You listen to 95% hip-hop, Lenny? You should listen to Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick, very lyrical. Darrington, welcome back, sir. What do I listen to in that time? What did I listen to in that time? Oh, when I was going into hip hop stuff, I basically found a bunch of YouTube channels that cover rap, and go into like, here's the story of the artist. A lot of things talking about the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and different candidates of why their stuff is good or not, and that's what I would put my time into. I'm not hardcore, Alex. I just don't see the point of buying or getting a big thing that's more unwieldy. Where would I put the deadlift jack in between sets? I'd pull up the bar. I'd load the weights with barely any easier than it would be otherwise, and then I'd have to like pull the deadlift jack off to a different spot in my garage. I don't have a whole lot of room. If you ever, here, pro tip, if you can't afford a deadlift jack, take a smaller weight, a 10, a 5, or a 2.5. Pull the weight on there. Look, instant deadlift jack. You can move all the weights off all you want. Boom. And let's change the weight while we're over here. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Look it all up on Genius. Then do you believe Robert Plant's pen started moving on his own when he was writing Stairway to Heaven to Jimmy Page's Satanic House, formerly Aleister Crowley's house? No, I don't think that I have an opinion on things that I wasn't there present for that seem highly unlikely. If you start listening to Kendrick, make sure you listen to the whole albums. Oftentimes the songs don't make much sense on their own, but they listen to the context of the albums. Honestly, I just used Dead Wedge. Got it for $10. You're welcome for the lead into plate change. Advice on using hook grip for doing sets of 3+. I don't, generally, unless it's a top set. I tend to be very careful about when I do my hook grip, and I save it for the sets. Because once you've got it, once you have it down, you don't lose it. As long as you do it like frequently enough to make sure that it's still there, I haven't had any problems. And if I had a top set that was a rep out set or something, then I might hook for the top set. But I do over-under grip for all of my back-offs, largely because it's less efficient. Because I do have to keep my lat further engaged in this. That arm wants to swing, and so it makes my back-off work a little bit harder. But it makes it feel even better when I switch back to the hook grip. It goes against a lot of the people's other lifters that I highly respect who feel like you should try to make everything super repeatable. I agree to that. I agree with that to an extent. But if you have something that's basically a deadlift hack, in my opinion, like the hook grip can be and can function as, you want to protect your thumbs. You don't want to be tearing your thumbs out in training sessions on sets that are not your full practice sets. Otherwise, I would say break up your lifts into break up your rep work into singles, stand up and reset in between. You're going to get a better feel, and it lets you make sure that you're setting the hook correctly every time, and that you're not having the bar get shaken out of position and then pulling wherever your thumb's at if it puts it in a bad spot. Some people recommend straps. I don't. So for rep work, if you're a hook grip puller. Same technique I use, the one you just demonstrated. You know you like Drake, quit playing. I haven't listened to any Drake songs. I listened to a very funny version that SourceFed did of Hotline Bling. That was it Hotline Santa or something? That was hilarious. Steve Zaragoza is a very funny man. Stairway to Heaven, Search on Hands. To load. Same technique when you demonstrated load and unload, Anthony. I got you. I'm following along. All right. Best Drake album is Take Care. I don't know anything about Drake albums. I'm sorry. I can't participate in this conversation, guys. Come on. What can non-strength athletes take away from powerlifting programs and protocols? Progressive overload, focusing on technical proficiency and specificity. General strength training is good, and the power lifts are some of the best places to work on overall strength. And it can teach you discipline. I think that you just have to make sure that you keep in mind why you're doing what you're doing. I once had a baseball player come up to me and ask, I want to work on my deadlift to get it up, and I want to be able to deadlift this weight by this time. And I asked him why. Is your goal to be able to deadlift, or is your goal to be the best baseball player possible? Because you can use the deadlifts. It's not useless. You can find a good use for them. It can make you stronger. It can increase your ability to perform on the baseball field. But you have to make sure that it's not taking over your focus and pulling you away from doing it. So usually that comes down to not worrying about the weight progression as much. I think of my accessories like most athletes should think about powerlifting movements. Use them with as little weight as possible to work on perfect technique and still get the work in, so that you're getting benefit from that, and you're working on stimulating the muscle and targeting the goal of what you're trying to train. But do not get an ego, because the weight progression on the power lifts when you're not a powerlifter is not the important thing. Just like I don't use a whole lot of weight when I do bent over rows, because I'm focusing on holding positions and strength in a very controlled way and building over time, because I don't want to wear my joints out any more than necessary. So that is what I would recommend. Who asked the question? Kyle. Yeah. Cody Bap. If you want to try and get into hip hop, listen to Mad Villainy. All right, you guys are giving me all good advice. I'm gonna try some of this. Probably not before the next stream. I've still got a whole lot I've got to do. To be honest, my friend almost got possessed. He was playing "I'm a Walrus" by the Beatles on the piano in the basement. He said he felt some sort of weird chill. You guys. Georgios, do you think you can combine strength and fight sports and see development at both? I do my lifts in the morning and boxing in the afternoon, but I can't really go over 80% because I feel really sore afters. Yeah. You can combine them, but at some point when you get to there's a divide, because those are close enough that they can benefit each other to a certain point, but one has to take your focus. You can't be your best at both of those things, because the focus is different and it segments at a point. And so you have to make sure that you prioritize whichever one is the most important to you, and that has to get the primary bit of your focus, because trying to excel at a super high level in both of those ways is going to lead to both of them not being as good. So if you prioritize one, the other will not progress as high, but that doesn't mean that you can't slowly see yourself get better at both over time. Anthony, who's my favorite lit music artist or band that you listen to mostly? Ed Sheeran, for sure. And my a cappella group, because I like what we do, and I have to practice. Alex tried to donate $5 towards the Deadlift Jack fund, but YouTube asking for my driver's license number. I don't know anything about that. I pushed a button and answered the little thing and filled in my info. So if you're sketched out by this process, please don't feel like you have to do it. Pupper, do you know why many strongmen roll the bar before deadlift, whereas most powerlifters don't? Many strongmen are very, very big, and to get into position, I think they do that because they can't get themselves in that super uncomfortable bottom position, a lack of mobility just because of how big they are. I don't think it's an ideal way for most people, because it's really difficult to be consistent about pulling in the same spot every single time. Lenny didn't have to put his driver's license in. Are you just saying because you don't want to donate, Alex? Because that's fine. You don't have to lie about it. Kyle, so then can non-strength athletes brush it off if they don't seem to be progressing in weight? Well, you need to think critically about why you're doing what you're doing and using it as a gauge. If you're not getting stronger, you should just use it as a gauge as to whether or not your strength is progressing, because strength can make you a better general athlete, right? So if you're not progressing for an extended period of time, why are you not progressing? If you're training with good technique, you're employing smart weight decisions, it may take longer to progress, but you should still be progressing at some rate in strength, because that's the gauge that you're working out. I wouldn't say brush it off, just be very make sure you're thinking about why you're not progressing. No, bro, I was asking for the legitimacy of my account. You two can suck a fat lemon? Okay. Ever think about putting a sweater on your cat for IG likes? I once did a pause deadlift of 650 pounds in footy pajamas. So I wouldn't do that to Chester, though. He's too good for Instagram. Instagram doesn't deserve my cat. Collins, for general badassness, deadlifts or farmer's walk? I would say deadlifts, because I think it's the best demonstration of overall body strength in general. Not the sumo, because that's just me cheating. But a conventional deadlift with like solid technique and a lot of weight, that's some impressiveness. But if I was more impressed by farmer's walks, maybe I would be a strongman. So. Ugh. And that blood pressure spiked, though. Woo! Boy. Goodness gracious. The lift wasn't hard, but I was just so much pressure in my face. Hard. The lift wasn't difficult relative to what a true max attempt would be. I'm not going to pretend that wasn't, like, challenging. Question mark RPE. Face pressure of peace. Holy banana snickles. What are you guys on? Pull back and show me. I did. J Cream. Do you like the Beatles, Ben, Nirvana, Led Zeppelin, RHCP, or Blink 182? Some, not all. I won't tell you which ones, because I don't want to get hate. I'm just kidding. I think that I miss the Beatles point. I like some of their stuff, but I'm not a diehard Beatles fan. My girlfriend is. She doesn't forgive me for that. Anthony, you like the band? Incredible? Well, thank you. I'll tell the boys you and our young lady that you said that. Yo, what's up, Jermaine? Welcome back. A little earlier tonight. Still 2 hours earlier than the start time of last week. Alex, holy crap, is that footy PJ thing on IG? There might be a picture of it. I know I have a video on YouTube somewhere of me talking about it. It was like a few years ago when the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl, because I don't watch football. And I went out and pulled a deadlift. It was on a deadlift bar, but it was a pause deadlift PR. Don't get cold. I did the thing. I'm not worried about getting cold. I'm worried about my face exploding. Big Lenny opinion on Yuri Belkin. Dude's insane. He's very strong. He's very, very strong, and he just had some really good competitions. Good for him. It doesn't take anything away from him. Strum holding strong. Nicholas, please teach me how to be strong like you. Lift weights for a very long time. Practice. It's that simple. There's no secret. I wish there was. I wish there was a secret. Stay engaged. Don't quit when it gets hard. It's Colin. Opinion on Jesse Norris' style of training. Lots of 10s and 15s. Jesse's talked about how he trains for aesthetics a lot. He likes the idea of training kind of like a bodybuilder with a lot of sub-maximal weights. I think a lot of people think that Jesse trains high reps with high weights. It's not high relative to his max potential. Like, Jesse trains between like 65 and 80% almost exclusively. It's just 80% for him is like 100+% for many, many people. So I still think Jesse's the most impressive powerlifter to me. So I'm biased because he was around my weight class for a while. And Jesse's probably the person who I saw that made me realize there's just people in the world that no matter how good you get, there's just some people that are just really, really strong, and you can't do anything about it. You have to focus on your own numbers. How do you think powerlifting would change if they found some ways to limit arches to a minimum? I think it would be more spectator friendly, Lenny. I think that you can tell anytime someone posts a huge bench press PR that was set with an incredible arch and a max width grip, and I think it's called the Jap grip, where you have your hands like tilted like this so that your wrist is out further than the legal limit of the bars and you cover it with your finger. I think while that's very impressive and it's someone taking advantage of the rules within the sport, I think that general spectators view that as cheating. They don't understand the rules. They're not in the sport. And so if you want the sport to grow in popularity, that tends to hurt the sport. I think Izzy made a video on this recently, and I tend to agree with his points. While I personally am impressed by it and I respect it, and I'm also biased in that I don't have an extreme arch to my bench press, I am not as impressed by something like that as I am from like a Jennifer Thompson bench press who's basically flat back as a light female lifter bench pressing 320. So, Giorgio, do you think accessory work, build the bench of frequency is the key? Got dips and incline bench in my program, bench twice. Should I stop the accessory and bench 1 or 2 times instead? I think bench press benefits more than the other lifts on hypertrophy. I think that's something you can benefit more by filling out your frame. I'm not a great example because I don't have a whole lot of upper body hypertrophy comparative to my legs. But I think that you see a lot of squatters who might surprise you. You see a lot of deadlifters who really surprise you. You don't see a whole lot of bench pressers who don't look like they bench. Unless they're one of those super large people, in which case they still usually have some pretty decently sized arms and shoulders and pecs. Diego, do you ever plan to compete in strongman? I've competed in strongman. I won a local show that qualified me for nationals as a 200-pound athlete, and it was fun. I think that I enjoy powerlifting training a little bit more, but I'll never say never in terms of like what the future holds. Right now, my focus is just on powerlifting. It's calling you excel pretty early before lockout. Reason? Do that in a comp. I'm forcing my breath out really hard, and it's kind of just something that I have developed sort of to I don't know, maybe it cues me to continue trying to increase speed on the bar. I think it's really difficult for you to lose position when you're already past the main sticking points in the lift. And so, especially on the deadlift. So if once you clear the bottom, especially with pause deads, you're stopping. Once you accelerate, I have had very few times if I've ever lost position in that, and so I don't feel as much about the breathing, and so expending that in a quick way makes me feel like I'm producing more force. I don't have anything to back that up. I might just be making that up in my mind. That's how I feel. Anthony, Ben plus steroids equals 765 pause deads for reps. Oh goodness. Well, I guess we're never gonna know. I've hit a beltless 715 pause dead for a single pretty easily. So, and that's without using anything. Stand down. Do you overhead press? Not currently. In the past, when I've done overhead pressing, I tend to hurt myself, either my elbow or my shoulder. I don't blame the movement. I just don't think I'm very good at it, and my patience in that movement was not enough to keep me safe with the progressions that I was working with. Now I have micro loading plates, so maybe it'd be a different story, but overhead press for me is it's such a long movement because of how long my arms are, plus I do have my bad shoulder, so I try not to overload this with too many things. Alex, while creeping on your IG, I saw you use the deadlift bar and slanger more often. I used to use the deadlift bar because I competed in a federation that used deadlift bars. That is no longer the case. I did for my 800-pound deadlift. I did for the Grid League Challenge, where I did a conventional deadlift with 1 day of notice and went for a PR, or went for a heavy conventional triple. That was for a $200 cash prize, so I was just going to use the deadlift bar because I deadlifted the day beforehand, or I squatted the day beforehand, deadlifted 2 days beforehand. So, and the slingshot, if my coaches programmed it, I would use it. I like the slingshot. I've got it back there. I like that product. I was surprised at how much I liked it, honestly. I thought as a raw lifter it would be like wearing a bench shirt, and it is not. The groove, the motor pattern with the slingshot on feels more like my natural bench press pattern if I had stronger pecs. That's how I would equate it. Where a bench shirt is a totally different feel, and I've done that too. Big Lenny, I'm going to come back to you since I got to do another set because these aren't going to get any easier with me just waiting around for them. And I don't want to hyperventilate and pass out. As entertaining as that might be. We're already filming. Yep, that was easier than the first one. I'm not sure if I maybe rushed the pauses or just better session pacing. That was only an 11-minute break instead of longer. Better than set one. And that's all for the actual pause deads. We do that 2 more times without pauses, which I'm grateful for. Because I think a year ago that would have been a PR, or close to it, on a stiff bar. For pause deads in that rep range, I guess. A lot of qualifiers. Whew. Yeah, boy. Lenny, honestly, you think the Japanese style bench should be banned? I see no reason for it to exist. I could be convinced, but you know, people in any competitive environment will find whatever it's the meta, the most effective technique available. If it suits your leverages and your spinal flexibility, then it makes sense that people would take it to that extreme. It's impressive in a different way because of the technical proficiency and how it overtaxes parts of the body in a different way than a normal bench press. But in my opinion, and a few others who've expressed it, there is the argument that can be made that it does alienate some spectators who don't understand how technically complex it is. And so no one, as long as it's within the rules as set out by the governing body of whatever federation it's in, and the people are performing it within those listed standards, then they can do that way. But whenever you complete a lift in a certain way, you open yourself up to criticism, and you can't get mad at someone for being critical. Same thing that pulling sumo. It's a wider stance specifically to overcome some bad leverage positions and make the lift more efficient in terms of where the lever lengths are and reducing the range of motion. You open yourself up to criticism. It's okay to make fun of people for being a sumo deadlifter. It's commonly accepted. So it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it, because as long as it's legal to do, I'm going to keep doing it. But at the same time, I would be pretty, it wouldn't say very much about my mental resilience if I broke down every time someone made fun of me for it. And while I think we should be kind to each other and not like make fun of people for their technical style of things, I think that it'd be a pretty tough case to make that you can't be critical of something like that. So that's just my opinion, though. Maybe they could take a minimum lower back height when arching based on height torso length. Yeah, Pupper, how are you going to judge that, though? How are you going to enforce that kind of a rule? Very difficult to judge mid-bench. I like the what Izzy proposed as an idea of we have a depth standard with the squat where regardless of your leverages, the crease of the hip has to pass below the top of the knee. If the elbow had to clear, a certain point, like if the elbow had to hit 90 degrees or whatever, because there's people who are doing these bench presses that are moving that much when some of us have to go all the way down there, which at the same time, I would just be erasing my deficiency in the bench press that gives me a benefit in the deadlift. So I could see both sides. It's a tough place to be. Stan, do you think the overhead press translates well to the bench? If I thought it did more so, then I probably would prioritize it more. I think it can have positive correlations. Like I said, the upper body mass you have tends to be a good reflection on your bench press capacity. But I don't think that it should be prioritized at the same level as working on your competition bench press. So, can it translate well? Yes. Is it more important than actual bench pressing? No. Do I do it? No, because I tend to hurt myself. Where are we at? Nicholas, who do you think is the most anomalous lifter in comparison to those in the weight age? Anomalous, like best? Like an anomaly? Jesse Norris. because Jesse does things that guys who use drugs haven't ever done, and Jesse passes his drug tests for the most part. Pupper. True, I haven't thought of anything convenient yet that isn't subjective. Bro, question, no homo. How big are your biceps? Do you think bicep hypertrophy aids the bench? I don't know how big my biceps are. I haven't measured them since I was probably in junior high, because I just don't care. I don't think there's a huge carryover to most of the lifts just from biceps alone. I think that I do train my biceps occasionally, like a hammer curl, but that's basically to protect my elbows and as an antagonist muscle group to the triceps, since I do so much pressing. I think that big biceps are not as important as not having an extreme antagonist muscle group imbalance to something else that gets worked all the time. So, and yes, I do think hypertrophy aids the bench. And I think that if I had a bigger upper body, I would bench more. Lenny, oh, you were there. Okay. It's Colin. Had any bodyweight swings since beginning lifting? How did it impact lifts? I've been pretty much run the gamut from when I was younger. I weighed in the 130s. In junior high, I wrestled at like 132. And then my senior year of high school, I think I'd worked my way up as a power lifter to... I competed at state as a 198 lifter at weighing 182, because we had a 181 lifter at state who we wanted to, for team points, we knew that I could win the 198 class regardless of my body weight at the time, my senior year, because I've been lifting for 8 years. And Frank was a 181, and we wanted the most team points possible, and so we knew he could win that class. I would win the 198s. And so afterwards, I think I tried to gain a lot of weight when I was sponsored by Animal and Universal. The year that I went to the Arnold Classic and lifted in the cage as a sponsored athlete, I think I weighed 228 then. That was the heaviest I'd ever gotten. And then I wasn't happy. I felt really gross. And so I think I cut from 228 down to 195, and then I've kind of been between 195 and 220 ever since. And that was like 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah, I've been in that range for a very long time. Did I turn my camera off? Freaking me out. Little blinkies. Stan, this is just, I'm sipping on water with it's just some Crystal Light packets. Wild strawberry. I don't know if, maybe they have some caffeine in them. I just like the wild strawberry flavor. It's easier than because I drink about a gallon of water a day out of my little strongman mug that my girlfriend got me. Jameson and pickle juice, duh. Exactly. You guys. Lenny's not hating on the arch. You just think Japanese style bench grip should be banned. They just have a rule that your fingers have to be together. I mean, that'd be easier to enforce than any of the other suggestions we had. It's calling, you sometimes step over the bar, which is offensive to Russians, so you voted for HRC, obviously. Is that offensive to Russians? I just remember Mark Bell once saying that stepping over the bar is bad luck. And I used to avoid it. I actually used to make a conscious effort to avoid it. But it's my bar and my garage, so maybe that's why. Maybe I feel a little more sense of ownership of being able to walk where I please in this setting, my alpha setting. Also, for the record, unrelated, none of you brought this up. If you ever unironically refer to yourself as an alpha, I'm judging you. I'm judging you hard. And I don't judge people very often, but if you call yourself an alpha in an unironic setting, you are the opposite of that. Stan Dam, big props to you, Ben, for answering all these questions all while training. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it too, man. Appreciate it a lot. I appreciate you guys coming and doing this. I've lost a significant amount of subscribers since starting the live streams. I think not everybody likes it, but I like this, and I like the communication we have. And it means a lot to me, so I will take that hit. People who didn't want to be here anyway, I can get on board with that. Ben, where did you bought the singlet? The one that's not from Titan? My Strength Crew singlet? I think Shukin sent that to me. It's an Inzer singlet, and it has the word Strength Crew on it, and then I have another one that's just a regular Inzer singlet that doesn't have anything on it. But I couldn't use it to lift at Nationals because they didn't know what it was, which was hilarious to me because those Titan singlets are super cheater pants. They're springy. They spring out of the bottom. And my other singlet did not because it's like a much thinner material. Most Russians pull sumo in Russia is a communist country. Coincidence? I don't think so, you guys. Stan, what about taking the weight and multiplying it by the distance moved? It's physics. It's called work, so it makes sense, right? That would eliminate all these 2-inch bench pressers. Some people would legitimately only have a very short range of motion. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not the one who brought this up, for the record. Like I said, it's within the rules of the sport, and so I accept it. I agreed that other people can do that when I signed up to lift in the USAPL. That doesn't mean that I have to be as impressed by it as someone who benches with a flat back. That is more impressive to me by what I would see as the standards of strength, where it can be equally impressive to someone who is really like who is more aware of the work it would take to develop that kind of an arch. But then I've heard people say, like, oh, you're either born with it or you're not, which makes it completely unimpressive to me. So if it's those people, then I'm not impressed by what they do. It's all relative, though. Who cares who's impressed by what? You're within your sport. Ultimately, all we're doing is we're pretending to sit down on an invisible chair and stand back up before we get squished, pretending to squish ourselves and then unsquish ourselves, and pretending to pick something up and not go anywhere with it. So if you break it down, like, what's impressive, it's a display of strength through a skill set that we've determined through arbitrary means. That's all powerlifting is. And I have based my life around that. That's a silly thing. But I love it, and I feel like it makes me a better person at the end. If it's offensive, if it's so offensive, I'll step over it in between reps because I'm an alpha. Or Lala the alpha. Alpha destiny, bro. I understand, like, I like alpha clothing. I like alpha elite clothing. I think that they're good looks. I think it's a cool thing. But I'm serious. If you ever say, I am an alpha, you're not. An alpha doesn't have to say that. An alpha male would not be saying that about themselves because it's a quiet confidence. Ben, front squat, I tend to not. I've done it in the past. I think my best, I weighed 195. I did a front squat of 405 with a clean grip and no belt, and I've never felt the need to work on it because my low bar squat is so hip and glute dominant with how much I have to lean forward to keep the bar over the center of my foot, and with how long my femurs are from my hip to my femur. Front squats tend to really just my lower back just pushes forward, and it ends up hurting my elbows a lot more than I've gotten benefit from it. I could improve it, and I'm sure it would be helpful, but not at the expense of my elbow health, because those are hard to keep in a decent enough range of comfort in general. I like it. I don't watch them all, but they're interesting. I don't know, what are you guys talking about? I missed it. Diego, you're alpha at Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, that's fair. That's just an objective statement. I can't judge you on that. Jorge, hi. When I conventionally think of retracting my scapula by pinching my shoulder blades, I'm not sure if my scapula is locked in. Would chest up and shoulders back be a fine cue? I think the best way that I've ever cued it, that works for most lifters, is imagine that you have someone's hand on the middle of your back, and then try to squeeze the hand, and then try to lower that down. So squeeze, and then lower it down, and then you keep it. Another way to engage your scapula is, I have bands around here somewhere. Where'd I put them? I know I put them somewhere. There's one there. I guess we'll do this one. Alright. Taking a band, usually like a mini band, because a lot of that scapular retraction includes your lat tightness, right? So stepping away, putting your hands down, doing a lat thing. So pull your scaps together, and then pulling your lats down. Just keeping the bar close to your body, or the band close to your body with just your lats, your scapulas have to stay retracted, because if my scapulas aren't retracted, I can't engage my lats fully. So engaged, and then do like a little lean down here, keeping the band against your shins, or against your legs. And you'll feel that your back tension is still there, even if you're not physically feeling the pinching of your scapulas together. Because a lot of the mechanisms in the back work in, they work together. I can't think of the word right now. I need to do another set, guys. Rush isn't coming. Oh my goodness. All right, Josh, you're next. You're next. Historically, these non-pause sets have actually been a little tougher, so it'll be interesting to see if that holds true today or not. Smooth and fast. That's why. They're not harder because they're harder. They're harder because I get lazier on the last rep. Last rep was sloppy. Still though, I'm fairly surprised at how comfortable these are feeling compared to previous training blocks. 139. We're slowing down a little bit. I took a lot of questions that round of rest period though, so I'll give myself a little lenience. Got lazy on rep 4. I've been kind of more intentional about resetting my positions in between reps. I used to do all my rep work like hit the ground and then go right into the pull. I've been trying to take any kind of extra momentum out of my setup, and I feel like it makes it a little harder because you eliminate your stretch reflex that isn't normally there in the deadlift, so that's a good thing, I guess. I swear, Colin, do you just like, I feel like I go right before I read your comment that tells me I should go. I think we're mentally synced up about when I should be lifting. That's crazy. Josh, generally the people with the short ROM on bench aren't full meat powerlifters. That's not true. There's some well, I guess using the qualifier of generally, I can see that. It's a more specialized skill. For me in the past, I've tried to develop a bigger arch, but it usually does encourage some back cramping that does affect my deadlifts negatively. So, who knows? Maybe I'm just not skilled enough at it yet. That's always what it is, right? You can build your skill at a lot of different things. Alex, or like someone convinced with convention pull over sumo. Man, I'm not even that winded, but coming from that to straight into talking, I like doing it, but I do. Just a second. There we go. Nice description of powerlifting, and Colin knew exactly when I was about to lift. That's crazy, man. I understand they're not cheating. Definitely more impressed by big range of motions. Calling them cheaters is ridiculous. Best barbecue in Texas? I've never been to I took a couple layover flights in Texas, but I've never done it before. Alpha say they listen to Ed Sheeran. Duh. Well, as long as they say they listen to Ed Sheeran and that's how you know they're alpha instead of them saying that they're an alpha, I can accept that. When you become a super famous astronaut cowboy, I'll make sure to give you a shout out from space. Appreciate it, man. I want to see it happen. Huge ROM bench over small ROM, conventional over sumo, stirring the pot. I think I already made that comparison. Maybe I'm just super late on the chat. J Cream, you are a silly boy. EOWHTD, Ben, what do you think about powerlifting being in the Olympics? Something you would like to happen, or rather powerlifting stay the way it is now, and why? And well, why? I am not opposed to it being in the Olympics. I think that it would be very difficult to happen. I think that that's the main goal of the USAPL, is to get to the Olympics. Then the problem would be, you know, a lot of the open USAPL lifters and IPF lifters would say they want it to be equipped lifting, which while I respect it, I'm not particularly interested in it. Raw lifting is much younger. It's much newer in terms of the high-level competitive scene, which is funny because you'd think raw lifting would have been like kind of the first, but they've kind of scaled a lot of the equipment back, and I think that's been a huge growth in powerlifting. I think the hardest part would be setting the standards for judging and getting an audience that could be interested enough in it that's not, because they already don't understand. The general public doesn't understand the difference between Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting. I've told many people that I am a powerlifter, and they say, oh, like in the Olympics with the overhead stuff. And I say, well, no, it's a different thing. Oh, well, it's the one with the big rocks thing, right? Personally, I would be more interested in watching strongman as an Olympic sport because I feel like it's more spectator friendly. I'm not opposed to powerlifting being in the Olympics. I think it would be amazing and a great opportunity, and I would do everything within my power legally to try and earn a chance to represent my country. But I don't think it needs to be in the Olympics to be special. So it's special to me. As silly as it is, the invisible chair sits, the pretend squish and unsquish, and the pick it up and no go anywhere. The pursuit is special to me, whether it's an Olympic sport or not. Joshua says the small range of motion due to big arch taxes the lower back, so hurts the deadlift somewhat. Yeah, I would say my moderate arch can sometimes do that if I'm not careful. And you are destabilizing your spine. Spinal neutrality in your squat and your deadlift is ideal, and that's what you're trying to maintain. And you're literally doing the opposite of that when you're hyperextending your spine to an extreme degree in the bench press. So it's hard to focus on trying to brace everything and lock everything down so you're not having any spinal movement. And then for one of the lifts, though, you're trying to destabilize and then restabilize in an extreme position this portion of the spine. Like I said, it's impressive in a different way. But I think that the main argument that comes in is that people don't view it as impressive of a display of strength. It's more of a display of flexibility. I think that's the argument that a lot of people who can see both sides would make. But again, it's legal in our sport, and I respect that it is part of it. Sumo doesn't really bother me, maybe because I've tried it and I really suck at it. Well, I really suck at benching with an arch too. So, Ben, how much do you think it would take to set up my own home gym with enough equipment to work a full program? I'm tired of these stupid commercial gyms. All you need is a rack, a quality bar, a bench press that you can move into it, some horse stall mats to protect the floor, and weights, which ends up being a fair amount if you want quality in those things. But the biggest thing that I would recommend is to start checking out like Craigslist and looking for used or things that you can find discounted online, and then take your time putting it all together, because it's very rare you're going to find everything all at once. And it depends on how much your disposable income is. I got everything initially for under $2,000. I found it is probably $4,000 worth of equipment, so I got a bunch of extra stuff that I didn't really need, but it was nice to get. And then I've added to it over the last 2 or 3 years. So, Nguyen, Kodong, should I do pause deadlifts if I pull rounded? It's taxing on your lower back. If you pull rounded intentionally or unintentionally, I think if you're pulling rounded unintentionally, like you're pulling with a rounded back, lighten the weight up so that you can keep a neutral spine and then do pause deadlifts to work on improving that position. If you're intentionally rounding your back, don't do it, because then you're overloading the stress and vertebrae that are already getting pushed forward and putting all that extra pressure on the front of the vertebrae. You don't want to do that and then load the movement in that non-stable spinal position. That's a bad juju. Jorge, does the scapula protract at all during the ascent? The cue is extreme, right? Squeezing your scapula together and then pulling it down with the lats to engage everything is to get, you don't want that as much as you want it to be neutral, but over cueing it when you have load pulling the other direction is going to neutralize it better. It's like when someone says knees out. If you have no issue keeping your adductors and your abductors both engaged so that your knees aren't collapsing in, knees out may actually be a problem because then you're opening your legs too much. You want it to track the right way. It's an over cue to prevent you from having the knees valgus in. It's an over cue to prevent you from losing your spinal neutrality and your stabilization through the scapulas being retracted and through your lats being engaged. So that's what I would say the goal is, and that's what you should intend to do. Pupper, if powerlifting was an Olympic event, I might give natural powerlifting more money. Yeah, maybe. I think that there's there's money in the sport right now, but it's not through competing. It's through coaching and through gym memberships and through the other things. Diego, speaking of Chris Stephan, have you used the Duffalo bar? What do you think about it? I haven't. I have a good friend, my friend Darrington, who might be in the chat, may not be in the chat. He went up and is working with Chris, and he says very good things about it. I don't have a whole lot of use for it because I don't need the extra shoulder room. I can train on a stiff bar without too many issues, just regular training, but I've heard good things about it. I know it's going to be a quality product because Chris is a very smart man and he builds quality equipment. It's a little out of my price range for a specialty piece of equipment, though. Big Lenny, Ben, you need to watch Interstellar, best movie. I still haven't watched it yet, Lenny. I know it's up there. I know that it's up there on your list. I just haven't had a chance, man. Since Tuesday's stream, I have been pretty much booked to I've been traveling, I've been staying up and doing a whole bunch of other things, trying to fix my sleep schedule. We're a little better. I still am an hour and 15 minutes away from when I started this workout last week, so that's a good sign. It's Colin, check your replay. Maybe you set the bar down slightly to your right, then drift slightly to your left when pulling. Maybe. The left is the side where it drifts to the front with me, so, and it did feel a little off. I don't want to blame the platform either because I've spent a long time leveling this, but there is about an inch gradient from one side to the other, so it may be degrading on the leveling of the platform, but there's a high likelihood because I can feel my underhand is getting pitched forward a little bit. It's really hard for me to maintain that position, so even on the way down, I might be drifting. I would not disagree with that. Alex, in the last stream, did you talk about squatters with long femurs needing to use a belt more due to forward lean? I didn't. I don't think they necessarily do because a forward lean, that kind of a low bar squat tends to actually that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think my natural inclination would be say yes, but I don't know what I'd be using to give that. Maybe it can be taxing on the lower back. But a high bar squatter or a front squatter or someone with short, if they lean forward at all, the erectors are going to be more of a limiting factor, where a low bar squatter with more of a sitting into the hips is utilizing more of that musculature, so it's less of a limiting factor, so maybe they actually wouldn't need it as much. Given that both techniques are performed ideally, then there's more pressure on the lower back, but you're in a better position to handle that pressure. If either of those lifts starts to misgroove forward at all, the high bar squatter or the more upright squatter is going to need more stability in the core to stabilize it, because you're not as prepared or in a position where you're already fully engaged. I mean, you're engaged, but because the center of gravity is going to be higher with the bar, it's going to tax the erectors, and it's going to cause for more of a need with that spinal integrity. So I actually would maybe disagree with that. I don't know though. Joshua, plus you don't get as jacked by using a huge arch, and who wants to peck Papa? I regret not stopping you at Ron National to say hi, by the way. Well, come up. I'm going to the next one. Stop by and say hello then. Preferably not during my flight, but any other time. I'm super down. Super down. Alec, do I use any dumbbell work? I do some hammer curls to protect my elbows, but I only have dumbbells up to 20 pounds, so it's not the best. That's one of those things where it'd be nice to have a commercial gym with all that extra goodie stuff, because then I could use some heavier dumbbells and maybe find some benefit for it. I program dumbbell incline and some dumbbell military press for some of my lifters who train in gyms where they have them available, but I don't have them available, so you have to work with what you got. Oh, okay. We're getting close. Okay, Colin. Now it's just you're getting anxious again. I'm getting anxious again. I grabbed the belt. You just said don't get cold. All right. Twinsies. Rest time twinsies confirmed. I actually specifically scrolled for your comment to see if you had said that. I'm freaking out, man. Last set of 4 on the deads, friends. We're almost home. Almost home. And then 8 sets of bench. But those should go by faster, because then I'm not resting because I need to rest. Then I'm only resting because I'm lazy. And you guys can help me stay on top of that. So, you know what I didn't do this entire time? Clean my... That might have contributed to some plate drift. Oh, we just gonna go. You know what else you might be seeing, Colin, is the bar is tilted a little bit that way. So in this front view, my right foot is placed back a little further. So I'm in alignment with the bar, but the bar is not perfectly in alignment with the camera angle. So that might be a contributing factor on top of my underhand being bad. That was all right. not nearly as good as I thought in terms of time management, but we're getting there, friends. I just get so excited to engage in the conversations. And when no music, nope, I don't do my music. Not for deadlifts. You don't need music for deadlifts, man. Good stuff. where are we going with this? Where are we at? Sorry, I'm trying to find you guys. Alec, you love the live streams. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. When, yes, you pull rounded intentionally because of your poverty leverages. If you work on your glute and hip mobility, you may be able to alleviate some of that rounding necessity. Because I used to think the same thing, and my spine has become more neutral over time. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it's worth looking into if it protects your spine a little more. Lenny, some long-femored squatters like John Hack, high upright torso, and tons of knee travel. Do you think this could work for most long-femored people? I think we've talked about this before. I think John Hack is an exception, not the rule, and I do not understand how he does the things he does. I have nothing but respect for that young man, and I can't understand his squat. Don't know how it works the way it works. I feel like if I tried to emulate that my knees would explode. But I also made a lot of mistakes when I was a young lifter and didn't have a whole lot of guidance. So maybe my knees are more prone to exploding than young John's might be. Or maybe his knees just always hurt and he's really good at hiding it. Jorge. Because it seems like when I use the cues form, you're saying my form looks safe, good, but got the feeling that the over-cueing of the scapula maximally retracted all the time was the standard. I mean, think of it this way. If this is your spine, your spinal column, we know we're not supposed to lean too far forward, right? Because it puts all the pressure on the front of the spine. If everything gets pushed all the way back, that's not neutral. We want to stack the spine. We want to protect it in that way through its natural curvature, but we don't want to do anything that's extreme that's pushing one end or one edge into that soft, delicate tissue in between. So, maximum retraction. If you're able to do something like touch your shoulder blades together with that much, I don't think you need that much. It's really the cue just to keep you from collapsing this direction and to keep your tension up with your lats engaged so that your spine is not segmenting in this direction or in this direction. That's how it should be applied. Popper, thanks for answering our questions, Ben. The stream has been very comfy. See you next time, Ben. Well, you're probably already gone now, but thank you, Popper, for stopping by. I think cleared up for you. Interstellar's good. Colin, long as, yeah. That's the reason I haven't watched it yet. It's so long. It looks interesting. I think I'd be engaged by it. It's just, I'd have to sit down and watch the whole thing. That's a lot. Interstellar's propaganda. Come on, J. Cream, you little trolley effort, you. And people give me so much crap for small off junior bench, but I've done it 3 cycles back to back with being extremely careful on form and loads of face pulls. What do you think about it? I'm a smaller lifter that can tolerate more volume and still feels super heavy. I've done a lot of things in the past that I tolerated, and I don't know if it's necessarily the best training practice. I think that a lot of those kinds of programs are very... Here, I'll put it this way, because I like this quote, and I think it's not used enough. Long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity every single time. Doing a program that's super crazy, hardcore, intense may produce some results immediately, but the problem is, where do you go from there, right? If you have something that's structured kind of with a more of a long-term longevity approach, you can stay in the sport longer, and you're always going to be stuck at whatever rate you can make it adaptations and progress as fast as you're physically capable of making adaptations. At a certain point, you can't go any faster than that. So going a little bit slower with a long-term pace limits the amount of times that you hit hard walls and have to backtrack, and it allows you to make smaller progress but over longer periods of time. That's going to stay mentally refreshing because you're not going to hit a wall and have to take a couple steps back and then have and only be driven by those periods of extreme rapid progression. So that's just something to consider. And that's what I ran into when I would do the small op programs, because I ran small op 4 times. And I would not recommend someone else do that. I think the biggest benefit was that it helped me with my technical proficiency by practicing the lift so much, but I used very submaximal training maxes when I did my small op programming. So That's it. Box Ross. Hey, man. Hey, welcome. J Cream, do not go gentle into the good night. Old age should burn and rave at the close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. I recognize that. I don't remember who said it. It's probably a quote also included in Interstellar, but I definitely know that's not where it came from. Yeah, no music. The Zen. Broke down in tears after that part. Oh goodness. I'm falling down here. When did I tear my thumbs or something? I always do all my back off work mixed to protect my thumbs. As long as I know that I can hook grip my top set and I haven't lost it, then I don't need to practice it anymore. And pulling over under the mixed grip is harder for me. I have to adjust. I know every single time that all I have to do is turn my hand back over and it's going to feel easier. And so for my back off work, I don't worry about it because I should never miss a rep in training, ever. Because I guess I should qualify that. The reason that I should never miss a rep in training is because everything we do is so submaximal in terms of what I should be capable of doing. That missing a rep means I goofed up somewhere. The mistake's on me because everything should be well within my recovery and adaptation abilities. Okay. I'm going to write down a couple of notes. Where are we at? I've been recording that whole time. That's a 9-minute clip video right there. Holy biscuits. That's bad on me. We'll switch out the camera or else it's going to die on the bench press. Stand Dam, do you take a pre-workout? If so, doesn't that keep you up all night, seeing as you're already training late at night? I didn't take a pre-workout. I took some caffeine a while ago, maybe 6 o'clock, and started training at 9. I have become much less dependent on pre-workouts or on stimulants in relation to my workouts, because all I do is for my workouts is I focus so much on just mindfulness and focusing myself within the moment. I don't need a whole lot of external stimulation for that. It's taken practice because I do have ADHD. I do have to take my ADHD meds in the morning and in the early afternoon. It'd be interesting if I can finally get my training sessions a little earlier in the day. Oh, excuse me. To be able to take advantage of having my meds be fresh within my system, but we'll see. Yep, Lenny, I don't mix on back off sets to protect my thumbs. See, I'm so far behind. I'm going to try to get caught up. Set a timer so you can't get distracted by the comments. Alpha, I do. I have a timer going. I just accept that it takes me a long time. And it's not that I'm getting distracted by comments. I'm getting distracted with my own answers being to questions. Why not straps, though? I get hip pain from pulling mixed grip. I will never use straps, ever. I can't expect you to be totally caught up, but this is a strap-free environment. I am stubborn in that way. I am unreasonably stubborn in my anti-strap views. Genitus Lions, do you have any recommended reading for strength training and powerlifting? I don't do a lot of reading myself. I wish that I did more. I would say, though, the people who I would trust to write things worth reading for strength training and powerlifting, Eric Helms, Greg Knuckles, Dr. Mike Israetel from the Renaissance Periodization Systems. Check out any of their work, and then there are many other people. If you're interested in reading and that's the best way that you take in information and content, I get really distracted when I'm reading. Again, something that I'm working on, but it's not always the best medium for me to engage. I'm more of an audio kind of guy, so I like to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to things like that. That's my best way to take in and hold information. If I hear something, I tend to remember it very well. Box Ross, I did not watch Brett Gibbs set the world record total yesterday. I did not. Yeah, Ben, I have similar leverages like Brandon Campbell. No matter how hard I try, there will be some sort of rounding. Fair enough. My response to that, because I feel the same way, is that you can always work to eliminate as much as possible. There's always better to get. So if you're rounding so much, maybe having a higher hip position and focusing more on your upper back tension, because that's how improved the rounding of my conventional deadlift, but it took me taking all the weight off the bar, pretty much starting fresh and slowly building up over time to weights that are like kind of laughably within my range, to eliminate that, and it makes me safer overall. It's okay to pull with a rounded back. I don't want to, if you're safe, but it's really difficult to dispute that pulling with a rounded back is not going to kind of inherently put you at a slightly higher risk of avoidable injury. So that's just something to consider. I don't want to scare you, but that's why I focus so much on trying to improve my back rounding, which I for a very long time had just said was the regular thing. Ben, what's your opinion on side raises? Do you think they do more bad than good? I don't do them very often. I used to. I don't have a strong opinion on them. I think if they're taking up room in an otherwise packed training schedule, then I would remove them for something that's more beneficial. But Jorge, Interstellar is a very inspirational movie. You guys are telling me I need to watch it. You lost your virginity to Hans Zimmer Interstellar soundtrack. J. Cream, you are just... You are very much what I expected when I started these live streams initially. I'd watch. You were a stream chat person, I can tell. But I appreciate you being here for all of my streams. Can you guys see that? I hope you guys... You didn't see it. It's out of frame. Made the shot. And boom goes the dynamite. All right. Peter, do you think there's some benefit if not benching at all? And not benching at all and doing something like inclines and dips if you're far away from a competition? I could see someone making that case because, again, the time away from it may give you a chance to, if you have shoulder issues, to let them recover. And hypertrophy in the upper body tends to be a very huge corollary to being able to bench press more weight. Personally, I like to keep it in because practicing the skill, benching is probably the least natural movement in powerlifting, because you sit down and stand up from things, and there's different variations of squatting that are kind of take getting used to, and it's every lift can be a technical lift, but benching is so not anything you'd find in nature. It's just so weird, where you're bracing your body against something, but you have some leg movement, and then you're trying to squish yourself and unsquish yourself. So I personally think the skill of practicing it a lot is important, but I could see if you needed a break from it, I could see the case being made. So there are occasions where I will have some of my lifters not doing competition bench press. They might do like close grip instead, and then some other accessories. It's calling, I am in Washington. My favorite IPA, I don't drink, my friend. 27 years old, have not ever partaken in alcohol or any kind of like drugs, really. And I know they're not interchangeable, not the same thing. I have gone to many bars with many friends who enjoy them. But I've DD'd all the bars in Ellensburg, knew that I was the guy who came in and drank all their water. So a night out to the bars for me means I'm going to get hecka hydrated. Lenny lost his virginity to a deadlift bar? That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. Not enough equal signs in that donation, man. What do you think about not squatting at all and running small off for the deadlift? Maybe spread it out a longer time period by doing 2 sessions a week? I wouldn't suggest it. I think that you'd get more progress by just doing a full program. A simple, straightforward, general progressive program that you make adjustments for based off of your weaknesses and your personal needs than any specialized, super intense program. I wish somebody that I would have known and had could advise me in that when I was younger. I think I would have made more progress. But I learned a lot from that experience, so I don't regret the experience. I just think that if I would have taken a different path, I could have come to a similar conclusion without having to try it myself. Please don't talk about straps. No, this is the no strap zone. It's honestly because I know that when I think you asked about that. The idea of losing a lift because of grip is something that just is not a good feeling for me in just my brain. And I've heard very few convincing cases for strap use. People that I respect use them, and I understand their reasoning, and I just disagree with the conclusion. And I also openly admit that this is one of the issues that I am very much unfairly biased against their use, because I've heard some very convincing arguments and refuse to change my stance on it. I won't hunt you down. I won't go to someone's page and berate them for using straps, but when it's asked to me, I tell people that I don't use them and that I won't use them. And I have a couple of lifters. I have a couple of my own athletes who use straps for some of their working sets, and their reasoning was good enough for me to allow it to happen, but generally I discourage it unless you have a very specific reason, as I would with most movements that fit into a program. You have to have a very good reason for something to be in your program if you're going for trying to make as much optimal progress as possible. It's calling you left-handed. Don't most underhand their dominant hand? Do they? I don't know. I've always pulled with my right hand over and my left hand under as long as I've been deadlifting with a mixed grip. I have also always warmed up with double overhand. And even though I only switched to the hook grip officially as my primary top set technique, I guess, with both being overhand, I used to warm up with the hook grip up till 600 pounds anyway, for 6 or 7 years before I switched to full time. Like, I trust myself to be able to hold on to the weight with the hook. Straps triggered. Have you ever met Mike Teixeira? I met Mike Teixeira at this year's Arnold Classic, and it was an awesome experience. Another good guy's work to read is Dr. Kelly Starrett's Become Supple-Levered. Kelly Starrett is the person, for anybody who doesn't know, who's behind Mobility WOD. Anytime someone comes to me with a specific mobility question, I tend to point them to that, in that direction, because he has so much material that's readily available too. So I guess that's my non-reading version of it. I don't own his book. My friend Bryce Lewis does, and he highly recommends him. So, Genitos Lions, thanks for the response. I definitely enjoy reading, and we'll check out those guys. Yeah, yes, sir. Box thrust, your dominant hand is over too. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of. I just started doing it so long ago. I don't think I had a whole lot of thought in the process. Stan Dam, do you think being 6'2" is too tall for the 105 weight class? Should I be looking to move to the 120s besides Brandon Campbell? Do you know any good elite 6'2" powerlifters in the 105 class? 6'2". Garrett's taller than me. I tell people, or I think I'm between 5'8" and 5'10". The 5'9.5" is what my official unofficial height is. And I don't think Garrett's 2 inches. He might be 2 inches taller. He might be 6 foot. I don't think he's 4 inches taller than me. Brandon is very tall. I don't know. I think it depends on how you fill out your frame, my friend. Fill out your frame. There are some gangly people who lift in those classes. I think you can find, at a certain point, then you have to get, bigger to be stronger, to be at the top 1% maybe in your class, but you can get to what people would view as an elite lifter at any height. I don't think weight classes matter that much on even maybe a national level. I think internationally is where you'd find the people who are min-maxing their height for weight situations. Drummer, as always, love the live stream, but as you know, it's been a long day. I'm calling it a night. Have a good session. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Alpha Fox, have you ever smoked pot? I've found it has helped my ADHD. I've never smoked it, and that just answers my question. What makes you avoid using pot? I know I used to be afraid of it, even though essentially all of it is unfounded scientifically. It's not so much that excuse me. It's not so much that I'm afraid of it. I've just never had an interest in it. And I know some people who do. My entire a cappella group pretty much smokes marijuana. It's legal in my state. It's legal in many states that I have friends in. I have many friends who partake in it. It's never been something I was interested in. I was never scared, like, ooh, don't come at me with that. I just never wanted to. The idea of smoking as a vocalist to me, which is funny that so many people in my a cappella group do, it makes me really nervous in terms of my vocal health. Actually smoking, and then for things like edibles, I've heard that they're more intense. And again, I don't even like taking my meds for my ADHD. I really prefer the approach of mindfulness and meditation as trying to manage my attention through means of my own self-control. I don't like the idea of using external substances to influence the way that my brain works. So, yeah, it's tough. I could see again, people can make a case. I'm the most on the fence guy with most of these things. I'm very, very rarely, except for strap use. I will tell you every time I don't like strap use. Where if someone brings up an idea and a counterpoint to it, I tend to be able to see both sides, and that makes me pretty easy to have a conversation with, and potentially very difficult to be like a politician. I don't think I could ever do that. I don't feel strongly enough about a lot of things to have those opinions. But really, it's just a disinterest. I'm not interested in a lot of those kinds of things. YOLO Smolov deads over and over, Colin? No thanks, man. I think that would probably shred your body. I think your central nervous system would get destroyed. Lenny, finishing up Smolov Jr. and I'm about to test my max. Tips for testing maxes on Smolov? Oh, man. I mean, you get used to doing it. You should be pretty used to finding out how you're, how you behave on your way up to some top sets. Just that. More of that. Just be careful. Take a couple days off to let your body utilize the deload effect of having gone so hard for 4 weeks, and then you know, take a few days off and see the benefit of that. Jesse Norris doesn't use straps. He's a cyborg, though. Jesse Norris is my favorite in terms of like just pure strength and the lifter that impresses me most. Jesse Norris. Big Lenny, you right hand under, and my right hand is dominant in an underhand position for some reason. My left elbow isn't as straight as my right. I have no idea why. Boxers, Lane is tall for his class. Lane's a very tall 93. Josh Hancock was tall for his class. Yes, sir. Colin, I don't think I've measured my wingspan in a very long time, but it's probably pretty wingy. I definitely do have a longer femur, shorter torso, longer arms. I've heard people explain that I should be a very good conventional deadlifter, but maybe I'm just really bad at practicing. All right, on to the bench press here, boys. We got 7 triples. You're going to see that the first 2 reps of every set are not going to be paused. That is intentional, not laziness. The last rep of every set will be paused. When I do my top single, it will be no elbow sleeves, no thumb loops, and it will be paused. Just cutting off all those questions before they come up. Okay. Explanation for why we do that. Because in the past, I used to pause every single one of my reps and then long pause my final rep. I found that my elbows and shoulders tended to get more beat up when I did that, and it would not, my bench when I would come to the meet would not be stronger for it. And so I can handle more volume by controlled soft touches and then pausing my last rep so that I'm always making sure I maintain control throughout the set. And that's why I do it that way. Before anybody asked, or if anybody was going to ask, just letting you guys know. You can still judge, that's fine. I accept your judgment. I reject the negative feelings associated with any of that judgment. Okay, we're going to try to keep these on around a 4 or 5 minute clip. And call on my wingspan. If I'm here, so I'm probably pretty darn close to a square of a human. Square, if not longer reach than I am tall. J. Cream, I understand Lane Norton's squat form. It looks like he's about to break his back. Yeah, I think anytime you have an extremely bent over low bar position, I think that you kind of open yourself up to. I'm this way too. My low bar is very hip dominant. I'm very forward. My torso is very far forward on my low bar squat. I think that the big key for that kind of squat is, again, to look from the side angle, and as long as the torso angle is consistent on the descent and the ascent, then that's an okay position. The problem is when you have a torso angle that's here and you get to the bottom and then the hips shoot first and the torso angle changes. That's where I see there being an issue there, and that shows that you're losing your spinal position. So without, in regards to no individual in particular, but that style of squat that I share, I think that's the biggest key in terms of if someone has a better squat position. Lenny's about to call the SWAT team on my a cappella group. Well, good luck. We live in like 6 different cities across the state, so you'd have a hard time getting us all effectively swatted. Jorge, I just started using Headspace, website. You subscribe to the full package. I'm not yet, purely as a financial, just based on financial reasons. I think that their free Take 10 series is very helpful to anybody who's interested in learning more about mindfulness and meditation. Download the Headspace app for free on your phone. Try the first 10 sessions. I think it can be very helpful and very beneficial. I also have a 44-session long training program that I've done through Weldon Green, who is an e-sport psychology. He's not a sports psychologist. He is a sports psychology educator, I guess. And he has a program called the MAC program, the Mindfulness Acceptance Commitment Program. I paid $25 for that and did it going after nationals into the Arnold, and I found it very helpful. John Hack's squat form is pretty much a front squat, but on his back. Easy peasy, right? Exactly. Stan Dam, do you ever get elbow tendonitis from squats? How can one prevent that? Shoulder mobility and upper back tightness. A lot of the times the elbow tendonitis from the squat is because the bar is sitting on here and it's getting all that pressure because you have external rotation and then you're trying to internally rotate your shoulders at the same time. You're in a position of extreme external rotation while applying internal rotation through the shoulder. Puts a whole lot of pressure on here, and the bar puts a lot of pressure on that elbow, and so your shoulders have to be mobile enough to be in that position. Your upper back has to be tight enough that the bar isn't moving around on you, and then you just have to be careful with the volume that you are working with in your squats. If you're losing your position in your squats because you have too many reps per set or something and it's putting even more pressure on your elbows, you just have to be very conscious of that, because once you have elbow tendonitis, it is a pain in the badonkers to alleviate it. So just be aware, be conscientious of your positions, and work on your upper back tightness and your shoulder mobility, and that should help. Also, I personally, from an anecdotal point of view, have implemented hammer curls into my pretty much every session, just to kind of work the antagonist muscle group of the triceps, where a lot of that tendonitis really gets kind of built up. And so that's something that's been helpful. Gonna do another one of these. J Cream, thanks for the stream. Good night. Well, thank you. Thank you for stopping by once again, sir. I appreciate your interesting thoughts and insights every single time. Even if you don't want to give your driver's license number to YouTube to make sure that you're a real account. Colin, my next comp is Nationals, Orlando, Florida. My next comp that I'm sure that I'm doing is Nationals, Orlando, Florida in October. I may take something in the midsummer as kind of a halfway sort of thing, but we're not going to peak me for that. I tend to not really peak too hard for meets anyway. We kind of sort of train through everything. But Box Ross, the app Calm is great as a mindfulness app also. I will look into that because I am always up for working on that. It's one of the things that I have to put so much effort into because it's something I struggle with so much. Big Lenny Jr., the law never gives up. We will find you and raid all your pot brownies. I have no tolerance for the devil's lettuce. You guys ever seen Reefer Madness, the updated musical? With, what's her name? I can't remember it off the top of my head. I love it though. All right, we're gonna do another set here. 3:15, second set of 3. Right, not too bad. Can usually tell how the bench is going by how uneven the lockout is on my last couple of reps on my bad shoulder, the right side. Alex, you asked last stream about the strong elbow sleeves. What about SBD elbow sleeves? I use these because they give me some mild compression, but they're the least assistive elbow sleeves that I've found. These are just Ray-Ban ones. And personally, again, this is not the rule for everybody, I don't like having as much assistance through the elbow on my bench press. This is preventative. This is not something that I need. And you're going to see my next set's my top set, and I will, because I always make my third working set my top set. For that, I will be not wearing elbow sleeves, and I will not let the thumb loop be on my thumb. Stand awesome tips on the elbow tendonitis. You're very welcome, sir. EOWHTD, do you make any tricep work? I don't do anything really. Yes, actually. One of my sessions on Tuesdays after my deadlifts, I'm supposed to do behind the head single arm dumbbell tricep extensions. So I do that for direct tricep work this training block. I haven't been as consistent with it as I wish I was. My adherence to that particular accessory has fallen off. And then in the past I've done a lot of close grip work, but then I do bench press. I have regular bench pressing Mondays and Saturdays. I do Spoto pressing and regular bench pressing on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays I do t-shirt bench pressing. So I have different kind of variations, and I try to make sure that I lock out my elbows. I'm not always the best at it. And that's a good way to make sure that your triceps are getting engaged, because if you see you have this last little, the light's washing everything out, and I don't have the swollest of triceps. The last little bit of the lockout engages this little portion of the tricep, and so USP in Newport, Oregon in June 17th, I think. There might be one at Rab Fitness in Kennewick in August too, if it's USPA. I'd like to find a USAPL in the area, but I don't know if that's if that's something that's really happening. Just because I don't want to have to pay another membership fee for a federation I don't usually compete in. Plus, one of the benefits of being able to compete midway through between the Arnold and Nationals would be to kind of gauge where we're at, and having a 24-hour weigh-in in a different weight class and having a deadlift bar to use and abuse would potentially inflate my numbers past what they would be in a USAPL competition, even in one that's strictly judged and enforced like the USPA. Plus, if I wouldn't get docked for lifting my head off the bench, and that's something that if it happened and they didn't call me on it and then I did it again at USAPL Nationals, I'd feel pretty dumb. Set 3. I think we're going to go 365 today for the top single. Yeah, feeling all right. They're actually feeling pretty decent compared to how the rest of this week's kind of felt. My presses. Lenny, I don't drink any diet soda. I stopped drinking soda pop in general when I was in 6th grade. I stopped eating pizza the same year. I drink Blue Monsters. I don't count that. It's really the principle of the thing. And I stopped eating pizza because I used to eat a large pizza every single, 3 or 4 times a week when I was a kid. And I was a weird kid. I found that I didn't like that about myself. There was something in my life that I felt had control of me. My addiction to pizza and soda pop. Dr. Pepper specifically. That was my jam. Box Ross, you believe BG suffered from being overconfident for bench due to sleeves also? Just my opinion. Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it, but I've always kind of tried to keep myself accountable when it comes to top sets in terms of making sure that I'm never driven by my ego and this is not a critique at all about Brett's training. I don't actually know a whole lot about the details of his training. But in terms of top sets, I think that if you ever do have top sets programmed into your stuff that's not regular volume work, you should make sure those are the least assisted, most competition legal lifts that you do in your entire training block. And that's, I think that really helps you not artificially inflate your numbers and make bad decisions in meet situations. Just curious about sodas. Roberto, You're the best. I've not been keeping up with your video for a while. Sorry. Hey, man, it's okay. I haven't been keeping up too well with them anyway. Any special reason why you're doing these night live streams? Oh, did you graduate already? I will come back. Those are some long answers that I have to give, which may not be the best sign. But we're going to do this top set because my wrists are already... Oh, we're going to actually put the weight on. I do this. Whether you guys are here or not, I do this more frequently than I care to admit. Better be easy, or else I'm gonna squish myself. Yeah. Little bit of a boo-boo there. Over-rested, or over-relaxed a little bit at the bottom. That got me a little out of position about halfway up, but was able to accelerate as soon as I remembered to push. Public service announcement. Do not wrap your wrists that far before you lift, that tightly if you plan on being a dingus and forgetting to load your weights first. Feels bad, man. Meh. All right. Where are we at, guys? Ben, okay. Late night streams, because I've had the issue of focusing on getting other work done during the day, where I should probably have my workouts get done a little bit sooner. Although, we are still 25 minutes ahead of the time last week where I started this same workout. I started this workout last week at midnight and then streamed for 4 hours. So, we are miles ahead of that pace as I'm trying to slowly but surely fix my sleep schedule. But that's why it's a late night stream. Because I'm not good at being a morning person, and it's a slow process, and a slower one than I like to admit. And graduate school. I have to take a piano proficiency test, but I'm done taking classes for college. I spent over 7 years pursuing degrees. I got really distracted in the latter half of that by just taking a bunch of classes that seemed interesting, which I think was very beneficial for my general life education and my ability to understand a lot of different concepts about a lot of different topics, because I took collegiate level classes about a lot of different things. Never failed a class, but I still do have to take a piano proficiency test to receive my official degree, even though all the other work is done. So I hope that answers that question. And my degree has zero to do with what my career path is. Monsters Zero Ultras taste great. Serious question, can most people tell you lift in real life? If they touch me. I've had many people, and they used to not be able to tell. It was a surprise. My girlfriend and I, when we started dating, she knew that I lifted weights. She could tell, but she didn't realize how much I lifted weights or how proficiently I lifted weights until I think she hugged me the first time, and then she's like, wow, he feels really dense in the back, because my erectors are all super overdeveloped from all the years of deadlifting. And someone told her, like, yeah, he lifts on a national and used to lift on an international level. We're trying to get back there. So Jorge, from my final understanding is that the scapula should be more neutral and not in over-cued maximally pinched position, but cueing for maximally pinched position is the way to go for neutrality. For most people, I would say probably try to pinch that, because most people don't think about it. Most people don't cue it very well. I personally cue it really hard because in my deadlift position, it balances itself out to neutral. When I'm squatting, it tends to balance itself out to neutral, and that's how I'd say. Lenny, not trying to neg you or anything. You're huge. I'm not huge. It's okay. Like I said, and I have said this many times, there are many people, you can have a great squat and people can't really tell. You can have a great deadlift and people can definitely not tell. But most bench pressers, you can really tell they lift. And I don't have a great bench, so yeah. Stand am. Okay. You do the top single after the 3 times 7. Shouldn't it be the other way around? What's the philosophy behind both? I do my top single as my 3rd set of 7, because in a meet your heaviest lift is going to be the 3rd attempt you take, and so I don't want to take my top single fresh, because I will never be taking a top single on bench press fresh in a competition. I want to be taking it as my 3rd attempt, so the 3rd time that I've had to prep myself, get ready, and do a set, I know I have to take those 25s off too before anybody reminds me as I'm wrapping my hands. I'm not wrapping them as tight for this because the triples are way easier than that single. I made it for myself. But that's the reason. I like to do my top set for my bench press as my 3rd working set. And it helped a lot at the Arnold. When I got there, my third attempt felt better than my first 2. So I'd rather have it be the case than have my opener feel amazing and have everything else feel surprisingly hard, because I'm not used to training heavy when I'm in a slightly fatigued state. Be right back, Alpha Fox. Take the 25s off, hit this trip. All right. Alpha, as a 168 lifter, do you think 225 bench, 315 squat, 375 deadlift is enough to go to a meet? I think if you can lift the bar in those 3 lifts, then if you want to do a meet, then you should do a meet. I do not think there needs to be a qualifying total for having your first meet. I don't think that it's going to do a whole lot for you other than set some weird precedents of what you need to expect. I think you should go and do a meet if you want to, if that's what your drive is, and find out if you love it at whatever weight you can do, because the day you decide to start lifting is the last day you're ever satisfied with how strong you are. And if you can learn to love it from your first meet experience, then you can love it through the rest of your journey. Lenny, you're going to bed. Thank you so much again for the donations. That really does mean a lot. I know we joked about it and everything, but that seriously makes it so much easier to continue doing these kind of things. As much as I love them, it is a financial drain to spend time doing this rather than spending it doing other things that could be making more money. So that really does help a lot. Thank you, Lenny, so much. Have a great night, man. Where are we at? Alpha Fox, right elbow lagged. Right elbow will... It's not my elbow, it's my shoulder. That's my bad shoulder, and it will lag. And I will try to not let it lag. Greenest lifting, Ben is the man. I'm just a guy who lifts weights, but I appreciate the support. Everybody giving up, passing out, but Ben is still going. Well, I have to do this. You guys are here because you feel like being here. I'm here because I have to be. So thanks for sticking with if you're still here. Ben is alpha. What can you say? Is still your moment? Is that right elbow lag? I'm getting that. I always wonder where you were able to go with wrist wrap for so long, you dingus. Yeah, it's intentional, right? Building that mental toughness. If you can't feel your hands on the bench set, then you're working harder. That's it. Man, too much. Too much. Yep, Wynn's right on the if it doesn't matter how strong you are, just enter a meet and get better from there. And enjoy it. Because you need to enjoy it at some point. If everybody's just embracing the grind as the grind and doesn't have a love for what you're doing, then what's the point? Why are you doing it? The why is what matters. You have to find your why and then pursue it as hard as you can. Just feeling your erectors, dog. Oh man. Jess and I went on a Pokemon hunting adventure yesterday. It was a lovely time. Future wife, future mother of my children. I am sure of it. I have an amazing bench and a pathetic squat deadlift. Feels bad, man. Well, we've all got areas that need more work, don't we? Either you have short arms, long legs, you come from bodybuilding background. Or you just are under-practiced or just unlucky at some things and lucky at others. It happens. Smart approach on the top single. Yeah, I like to think so, Standam. I have both short arms and long legs. It sucks. Oh, Rip Man, at least you look pretty aesthetic, I assume. Sounds like you're just short. Come on, guys. 6'2", very oddly shaped. I love it. I love it. No bullying. Hey man, I'm short. I'm short too. We can be that together. With short arms and legs. It's not bullying. Long legs and short. Yeah, long legs and short. Oh man, this is starting to sound like a Jason Genova how to train your upper and lower body situation, I think. Do the triples feel easier after the top single than they did before since your CNS is primed? Yeah. Yes and no. Probably would have felt easier if I didn't have to work so hard on the top single because I had my hands so numb and I over relaxed in the bottom. It's not too bad. Read the wrong thing. For that fat Asian kid, how's your night been, Ben? It's been all right. I'm getting to hang out with you guys here, and that's a fun thing for me. So, the weights have been moving all right. I was pleasantly surprised, or I was pleased. I wasn't surprised because I knew I had to lift the weights on the deads, but I was content with how the deadlifts felt and how they moved. I was not sure how everything was going to be moving tonight, and I knew it was going to go, but I didn't know if I should expect it to be comfy or not, and it felt pretty comfy. So. Ben, I have long arms, so I thought I had good deadlift leverages, but it turns out my femurs are super long, so they cancel each other out. I have long femurs and long arms too. So maybe are you a sumo puller? Maybe that's why. Got to pull sumo. Don't do the silly conventional thing. That's like benching with a flat back. What are you even doing, bro? Standam, what's the thing about donations? Where can I donate? This is my first Ben the Man live. Actually, that's a new feature. So we're gonna it's gonna sound like Ben's super greedy here in this next little bit of explanation. There's a function on the YouTube stream called the super chat, and it should be down below the little emoji button. There should be like a little cash symbol, and that's brand new. I haven't done it before, but I had a couple of people in some previous streams or messaging me directly who asked if there was a way that they could help support the stream. I guess support me, and my answer usually is, well, hire me as a coach. But if people don't want to commit to that, or if they find the conversation helpful or something that they feel is worth a small donation, and again, I said this at the beginning when I was talking about it, but it's never an expectation. None of my content will ever be gated behind a paywall. I want to continue doing these regardless, but it just helps me out. The super chat allows you to make a donation just if you feel like it. And it highlights your comment in the stream so I see that you donated and everyone else can see it. And while it is appreciated, and I'm very thankful and grateful to anybody who has or is interested in doing that, it is never an expectation, and I will try my best to answer everyone's questions regardless of that. It doesn't change the way that I go about the stream. So it's totally just there if someone wants to use it. I'm terrible at asking for things in general, and so it's something that's kind of there as a passive way if people want to help me in that way, and they find that this is something that's worth a donation. So that feels really weird to give that talk. So I hope it sounds as sincere as I mean it to be. Oh, it's not available in your area? That's okay. Well, I appreciate the thought. The thought means just as much to me. So, greenest lifting. I've been like straining my neck on heavy bench press sets, sometimes really bad. Any clue how I can stop that? Could be your if you're shrugging really hard, maybe just let me think about that. I'll do this next set because I already wrapped my wrist again, and I'll think about how to go about that. Tried to be a little more intentional with the right arm there and keep my elbow from collapsing in and cause my shoulder to buckle. Neck issues when benching. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe mobilize if you took a bar at maybe a squat height and this is less of a direct cue during the squat, but if you had a bar set up on a squat rack with some weight on it and then dug it into kind of your trap area and kind of like just used it to sort of massage through that area on your neck. Maybe some work with a peanut or a lacrosse ball along one side of the spine. So take a lacrosse ball, lay on the ground. These are just ideas. If they don't work, I'm sorry. Pin the ball on one side of your back. Let me see if I'll be able to demonstrate this at all. Huzzah! Parkour! And then put the ball there, maybe bridge into it a little bit, and then keeping your core neutral, bring the hand over to really open up that scapula, keeping your back as flat as possible, and then work through. Maybe lift the hip, pull it underneath a little bit, get some of that internal rotation to open up the scap. Ugh. That is one method of kind of working that from the neck all the way down the back can clear up a lot of issues that are through the center line on each side, and just kind of sit there and go through. Maybe when I did that in the past, I got a stinger. I got those things where you have like a nerve impingement sort of feeling throughout this area of the trap into your scapula. And I would put the ball there. I put 7 minutes on the clock, and I would just kind of work through that all the way down my spine. And I would do that for 7 minutes on each side, so 14 minutes total. It's a pain, but you actually open up some thoracic mobility through it. And even doing it right there, I just reminded myself how much I need to probably start doing that again. because going from my high rep squats on Monday to my conventional deadlifts on Tuesday, I usually do feel a lot of tension up here in my upper back, and I think that's something that could kind of help with that. So I think you're damn, Stan. Oh, that feels bad. Where are you coming from again, Stan? I apologize. I missed the country of origin. Joshua Mine says not available with your bank account. Personal shots fired. Negging yourself right there, fam. Box Ross Josh, send the money to me and I'll forward it on. Just playing. Oh my gosh, you boys. Greenest, thank you. You're very welcome. Box Ross, thank you. Alex, did you switch to flats on bench for convenience? Basically. I would tell people that it was, I don't know. I didn't feel a whole bit. I did not feel a lot of benefit from wearing the heeled shoe on the bench and going from, it's just I don't have to change my shoes twice in competition. I didn't feel like it was helping enough to warrant it. So I just stick with the flat shoe now. And then when I'm doing my deadlifts, I don't even worry. I still just wear my deadlifting shoes the same on the bench. Greenest, that set was smooth. Yep, well, you guys called me out on the lagginess that I know exists, but I can always improve on. So it's helpful. It's not always trolly. You guys call me out on the things I really need to work on. It's helpful. Alex, parkour! My buddy Fletcher in college, he was a fellow RA. He did a video called Fat Man Parkour, and he and a bunch of other guys would just go and they'd jump off on the ledge and they'd jump off and they'd roll and go parkour and then run off the camera. I almost peed laughing so hard. Who's the bully now? You guys, be friendly to each other. This is a safe space, chat. We're safe in here in this space. This is not a Berkeley institution. Going to try this? Good. Greg, hello, Ben. I'm a huge fan of yours. Started lifting because of you. Wow, huge fanboy. Thank you so much, Greg. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate that, and congratulations on starting the strength journey. I am honored and humbled that I could be a part of that for you. So definitely knew this sounds painful. Pain is a relative term. Greenest, it's a green ice, maybe green ice sounds better. It is definitely a relative term. Discomfort now for potential progress later is kind of the theme of powerlifting, right? And so that goes for mobility too. After my sessions, I usually bring that other bar down and I do all my mobility rolling on the bar in the rack because a regular foam roller is too soft and even my PVC roller is too much surface area. So I have a video on the channel called, I think it's called Sacrifice to Win, and it's just 30 minutes of you guys getting to watch my mobility, post-session mobility work, and you can see in my face how comfortable it is. Stand down Puerto Rico, oh yeah. 2:52 a.m. over there. Well, you can, I hope you're supposed to be up this late. I hope I'm not keeping you from napping, brother. Get your naps in. This will be a VOD afterwards. You can watch it afterwards. I don't want you to stay up on my account. And is there any reason why you don't arch hard? I have a short torso and it's not super flexible. I am arching as hard as I'm able without cramping my back, probably. Maybe. I could do more. I could potentially do more. Yeah, we'll do another rep here, and then we'll see if I can think more critically about answering that. I feel like I'm arching about as hard as I'm capable of getting. into position with, and still being able to do my own unrack. Because I do train alone, so I can't rely on having a lift-off guy lift the bar off for me. And also, I don't have an extreme amount of spinal flexibility. I think around, maybe that's about the extent, about my fullest arch. And my bench is low, so my hips are not always in the position. I don't know. I've got a lot of things I could work on. I find that bending the bar hurts my wrist to cue the lats. Do you know of any other cues? Just on where you're holding the bar, make sure that you're wrapping your wrist. There's no reason not to on the bench press, especially if you're having wrist pain. And I think we went over this last time, but I'm gonna do it again because I think it's helpful and not enough people know it. When you're wrapping your wrists, wrap them loosely, okay? And then make a fist and put your wrist in whatever position you're going to be pressing from. Take the wrap in your offhand, pull tension, and wrap this other hand while this wrist is still in the right position. You're still making a fist, and then you can pull and you can actually wrench down. Go down the wrist, go up towards the hand a little bit, and lock that in the position you want it in. Then use the Velcro. Make sure it's on there solid. I had one of my pause squat top set on Thursday actually. I didn't make sure the Velcro was on all the way, and so on my last rep, with 515 for pause squats, my right wrist wrap came off. But right there, try not to open your hand fully when you take off the thumb loop. Keep that fist engaged, and then that should protect your wrist, and you're going to get a lot more of that tension in there. That should protect the wrist a lot more and prevent it from having to worry about as much of the flexion, regardless of how you're cueing things. So if you're having wrist pain, try that. Wrap your wrists a little bit more intentionally. When I Van Damned. Box Ross, highly recommend a car buffer for anyone experiencing mobility issues for warming up, work on muscles. I used to have something called the Genie Rub, which is a chiropractic vibropercussor machine, very similar. It can kind of help get sort of a tingly feeling and just a general readiness going on. Joshua Brown's safe as those elbows. These elbows are hecka safe right now. As safe as they get. Alex, 315 AMRAP for the Strum Go. I would get probably 7 right now. I would guess 7. William, welcome back, sir. If the stream drops out, we know it was your fault before. Greenest, very true. Alex, what up? Wow. They say been rolling their head down. Stan Dam, haha, I guess my sleep schedule is as messed up as yours been. Oh man, did you start a workout at midnight? Because that's what I did last time. Oh, we hit midnight. We hit midnight with what? 5 sets to go? No, I can't math at all. 7 triples? How many have we done? This is not going to help at all. I'll go check the camera after this. I think we're on set 6. Of 8 technically, because the top set counts as 1. That makes sense. I've done 3 since the top set, right? Yeah, because bad one, then even, then not even. Alright. And it's not even because of the stream. I'm just bad at this in general. Yes, Ben, I thought I was helpless with my minimal arch. Now I can piss off all the internet with my bench post, man. T-spine mobility is key. Yeah, rolling that lacrosse ball. That's what I should be doing instead of being frustrated that I can't bench more. Just become an arch legend. I know it's a skill you have to work on. You can't just do it. It's like putting on a bench shirt. You're not just going to instantly be better with it. You got to work on the strengths. You're from Mexico? It's 1:58 a.m. there? Oh my gosh. You wait in Texas. What if all us 105s had arms like Colin or Garrett? We'd all bench more. Aram's still at it. I am still at it, man. Finishing up, finishing strong. Feeling pretty good, actually. Not feeling... Again, nothing compares to how tired you feel when you are starting a stream at midnight versus getting close to finishing one at midnight. It's okay. Standam, do you take any simple carbs during your long sessions, Gatorade? No, I don't. Some people do. Some people do. My coaches do. They like it. I just generally don't feel like I am running out of energy too much. I rest too much. I rest too much in between my stuff. Like, yes, the stream makes the workouts a little bit longer. Like, I probably, instead of 2 hours, those deadlifts would have been done in 1 hour. But that's okay. During these kind of things, I just need water, and I'll be okay. And I do have, specifically for in case I get a little case of the munchies, I do have my Lenny and Larry's Complete Cookie Snickerdoodle. Because I like them more than I should. I can't help it. Greenest, wait, you deadlifted 800 last month? Was it last month? Competed in the Arnold March 3rd, and then again March 5th. And then got home, what, on the 6th or 7th? And then a few days later? Yeah, I guess so. Almost 2 months now. Almost 2 months. That was a pretty special day. Definitely cheated with the deadlift bar, though, so it can't really count. But I'm still very proud of it. William, any tips on weighted pull-up tips? My rear delt shoulder hurts when I do pull-ups, but okay at chins. Why are you doing pull-ups? Is the question. If you're doing something that, if your goal is to powerlift, and you're doing something that is not one of the powerlifting movements and it hurts you, maybe we want to know why you're doing it. So answer me that, William, and we'll come back to your question. John Spee, when's the need for elbow or knee sleeves? Need? I use these for my working sets of bench press as a preventative measure. I use knee sleeves for my squats to help me lift more weight because they're legal, and those are the reasons. I think you can squat or bench press or deadlift without using any of these things. This is all accessory. This is all stuff that is not necessary at the base level of performing the movement. And then it comes down to if you think that it will benefit you or help you stay a little safer or feel more comfortable or cue certain things better, then I would say that's when you make the argument for adding equipment, assistive equipment into your training. Or in this case, preventative equipment. I think that it helps my elbows keep from feeling as beat up from bench pressing because I bench press so much. Let's see how many bench sets were done, by the way. Oh. That was set number 7 of 8, because I had the one single and then 7 triples. So we're a little farther along than we thought, boys. Only 3 hours in. Last week we were 4 hours in at this point. Boom. Progress being made on sleep schedule gains and on the lifty things. That explains why that felt like so long. Box Ross, Lenny and Larry cookies don't have near the protein they state. New study came out. No, every stream I've talked about them. I have said that, and doesn't mean I don't like eating them. Mostly, if you're eating Lenny and Larry's for the protein, then you're not paying attention to how many carbs are in these things. I pretty much eat them because I'm bad at consuming carbs because I don't crave carby things very often. Most of my protein comes from like chicken, meat, and I drink a lot of egg whites. So, Sandon, do you think the ab wheel rollouts are the best ab exercise for powerlifters, planks? I like the idea of having to hold your core stability in an extended position while having movement in the hip joint or the shoulder joint, because I think that is a direct carryover and beneficial for powerlifting. I don't know if you've checked out the first coaching tips video I ever made. It was about core strength for powerlifters, talking about the ab wheel rollouts, how I like to perform them, how I like my athletes to perform them, and hanging leg raises. I think those are the two most beneficial ab movements for powerlifting that are not working on the power lifts themselves. So, in my opinion. And I talk about it in that video. So, very nice. Do you see a lot of functional strength carryover? Like when a friend needs help moving, can you strap their refrigerator on your back? I definitely have an easier time doing certain things. I think that I'm not training for general strength. I'm training for very specific strength. But it's very difficult to build a big deadlift, squat, and bench press and not be generally strong. So I think that that's my answer for that. When I moved all of this equipment, I have an easier time with it than a lot of other people might. Okay. William, okay. Usually you do dips and pull-ups together and try to be as strong on both my presses and pulls. I want to build my back and arms. Okay, here's something I would suggest then. So watch how I perform these pull-ups here. I think that for me personally, I like to go from an extended position into a retracted position to cue my lats, my scapulas, and get that upper back tightness in between. So you're gonna see a little movement, and I think that this is the way I prefer to make sure that you're set for this, so that your shoulders aren't becoming an issue. So from here, you're extended, and then the first movement is a scapular retraction, and then a pull-up, and then control it, and then release. Scapular retraction, pull-up, release. That's the amount of control I would recommend, especially if you're having an issue with your shoulder health on a movement like that where you still want to continue to do it. Absolute control, making sure that you're setting everything, and then you are executing the movement and you're controlling the descent. There's a time and a place. If you were doing competitive CrossFit, a lot of extraneous movement is understandable because it's necessary for the modality that they're testing, but if you're using it in terms of building strength throughout your back, then doing chins in that way is the way I would recommend it. With full control of every inch of that movement, you should be able to stop at any point of your pull-up and not fall apart. So, Box Ross, ever thought of using a velocity-based training tool? I have thought about it. They're very expensive, and in general, I am not. My bar speed is not a great indicator of how comfortable I feel with a weight, because I tend to focus. I tend to benefit more even from slowing down and focusing more on positions. And I've seen people have issues when they're using velocity equipment. And my personality, I feel like, would tend to encourage me to try and beat my number, my speed, instead of focusing on hitting my positions as slowly as I need to for it to do what it needs to do. So, Ben, what kind of job do you have besides being a complete badass lifter? Full-time right now, I'm a coach. I coach online. I coach people in person if I have the opportunity. Over the years, I've done many, many things. I've worked as a custodial worker. I've worked as an RA for 4 years. I did manual labor as a farmhand when I lived here when I was a kid. I used to run a lawn mowing business. I've pet sat and house sat. I worked at a weight room as a weight room attendant when I was at the university. I worked as an access desk individual when I was there too. I have done many a thing, and then a lot of small odd jobs here and there. But currently, what I do is I focus on my own training, focus on training my athletes, and being the best coach and lifter and boyfriend that I can be. So. those are my full-time jobs as of now. And I think that I have a lot of improving to do in all of those areas. So farmer's walk or frame carry for abs, if you feel it be beneficial. I used to do a lot of farmer's walks. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? Is there a way that's a lot of equipment to try and coordinate for something that if you're doing that as your ab movement, you can do it to get better at the farmer's walk or the frame carry, but just make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing, where you're putting it in your workout. An ab wheel is a $9 investment that I think is the best core strength building tool you can have. And you don't need any weights, you don't need any clamps, you don't need space to do it. You just need a little wheel with a little handle on it. Stand damn awesome. I gotta incorporate the hanging leg raises. Yes, watch the way that I talk about doing them in the video though, because it's specific. A lot of people kind of crunch up a little bit. Greenest lifting, hanging leg raises, interesting. Wouldn't have expected that. Knees out, knees to chest, or legs straight out. It's the knees being. I think of them like a gymnast would think about them. So a lot of lifters tuck. If they were doing leg raises, they would hold up and they would tuck their back. You want to have an extended position and focus on controlling through, because you don't want to condition yourself to collapse your torso as a power lifter. For a squat, it's bad. For a bench press, it's impossible. And if you found a way to do it, it would be bad. For a deadlift, it's bad. You want to have an extended pelvic position and be able to control the hinging of the leg, the hinging of the hip in that extended position. So if I was going to be doing my leg raises, I might even have a bar behind me so that I'm not crunching back, because I want my legs to be extended. And so I would set up a squat bar probably on this side and have it push my hips out, and you will really feel that in that lower abdominal area and in the hip, because that's the way you want to train it. So watch the video. I'm serious. Watch the first coaching tips video. It's on go to my main channel, check out the coaching tips playlist. First video I made, core training for powerlifters. I talk about it, and I talk about why and how to use a belt, because most people use their belts wrong. Boom. Sam Cup, how often do you deload? Hardly ever. My training kind of waves in intensity, and so like every 4th week, so like I'll have the first week is kind of each little 4-week micro block is kind of a little bit easier than the 4th week of the previous one. So a little bit easier, and then it ramps up, and then a little bit easier than that week, and then ramps up. So it kind of goes like this, but it's never a full deload. Maybe the week before a meet, and then the week after a meet, I don't have any planned programming. That's when I do, after the Arnold, I did what I called my lifting stunts, the 1,700 pound total in 58 seconds for Instagram, the 800 pound deadlift attempt. Things that would not fit into normal training, that's when I do those other things. So, Box Ross, that makes sense, mate, regarding the velocity tool. Yeah, I think it can be an effective tool for use. I know myself so well, and I know that my tendency would be to do, and I don't want to use that as an excuse. I never want to be the guy that says, well, I tend to do this, and like excuse bad behavior patterns. But I think that I would need to make some more progress in the way that I personally deal with certain things before a velocity tool would be as helpful. Ask your touch. How would you correct early elbow flare on the bench press? By keeping your lats and your elbow and your shoulders more engaged, and not, if you're relaxing at the bottom, then the flare might be happening. If you're keeping your tension all the way down and then pushing up, like you're building up a spring instead of getting to the last little bit and then letting the weight drop, that's when you're going to lose control and the elbows are going to do what they want. If you're loading the mechanism all the way until it has to push up, you will likely not have your elbows going anywhere that you don't want them to. William Rodriguez, thanks, Ben. So basically control the movement and retracting my scapulas or whatever. Don't usually do that, but will do. And yeah, it's build upper back strength. Yeah, then do that. Control the movement. Control the movement. And with dips, when I do my dips, I like to go all the way up and fully extend and push my hips forward a little bit. You will feel a world of difference in how much your triceps are being engaged. I promise you this. And your actual core strength will go through the roof because you're forcing that extended hip position with not like having yourself slumped over, but like forcing that position. Do your dips like that and it'll change your life. Hashtag gymnastics things. Josh, it's available at your gym and add some extra hypertrophy for the back and legs, then go for it. Go for it. I have some farmer's handles. I just am too lazy to ever get them out and use them. And I got them because they came with a lot of my other gym equipment. Where are we at? Come on. All right, last triple before the accessories. Let's go. Camera died. Camera died because I was a dingus and didn't turn it off on that last deadlift set that ran for 9 minutes of footage. Greenie's definitely adding these into my routine. Alex, train your strength like a powerlifter, accessories like a bodybuilder, conditioning like a strongman. That sounds very... Is that Brandon? Brendan Lilly or Chad Wesley Smith, maybe? PDBRE, sup, Ben and Chad. Hello, sir. Welcome. We're just finishing up, actually. Just finishing up. That was the last set of bench right there. The last set of bench done 19 minutes after last week's stream would have started. Gains. Box draws touching lower on the chest will help prevent early elbow flare. Also pushing up then back instead of straight back towards the face. What is it? Greg Knuckles always advocated for kind of the J, right? I don't know. Different schools of thought on that one, guys. I still think I was a bad example of it on that last set right there in terms of I was getting to the bottom and getting lazy and relaxing some of that tension instead of pulling it in and building it up like a spring. But what are you going to do? What else do we have today? After those, ab wheels, hammer curls. Oh wait, who's in the chat? Who's in the chat? Who? It was your old vid from your home gym video. I mean, old quote. Probably, yeah. I probably got that from Brandon or from Chad. Sounds super familiar. That was probably years ago. Tommy Boy, just tuned in, but saw that you started around 8. Sounds like a long night. Hasn't been that bad, actually. I think we did a pretty good job of managing. I took a while. We rested plenty on the deadlifts. The benching wasn't as long. Took about 2 hours to get through all the deadlifts, including the warm-ups and all the talks we did. But there was a fair amount there. So, and the weights, I think a year ago, if I would have done 2 of those 630 sets for a pause set of 4, would have been like pretty darn close to a PR. So, and especially doing it for 2 sets and then 2 more without the pauses after a beltless 675 single with a double pause and full control, feeling pretty decent. William says, we'll try it. By the way, any strongman in your future? I would never close the door and say never, but I don't have anything super planned right now at the moment. I feel like I still have too much to do in powerlifting to start thinking about other things. Glad to hear you killed it, Tom. I don't know if I killed it, but I didn't let it kill me. I felt pretty good about it. I'll say that. I think that things moved pretty well. I felt pretty in control of the weight the whole time. Benching, I got a little sloppy a couple of times, but the deadlifting felt pretty good. And so, yeah. Night all box rust. Good night, sir. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it greatly. Divier, do planks in an extended position may also help core work as well? I generally don't do planks, largely because I don't have someone to load my back for me, so I would do them unweighted, or I don't know how I would weight them. I think that in terms of the planks, you're holding a static position, but I like there to be some sort of movement associated with working on strength. I think that just holding a position is okay, but this where you think of trying to hold a brace position for the squat or the deadlift or the bench press, you are moving. You're hinging at the hip, and your shoulders have to be in a position. You're not just holding. It'd be like walking out a squat and not moving. I think a plank would help you with maybe that kind of core stability, but you need to be able to create movement through segments of your body without allowing you to have collapsing of the core. That's what my aversion is to training planks as your primary source for core work. Alex Knight, good night. Box right. Yeah, you guys, if all you guys are here at 2 a.m, your local times, please go get some sleep. I appreciate you stopping by, but you need your naps, kids. You need your naps. I'll try to be a little bit earlier next week too, and I'll try and keep this trend up of moving things slightly forward, edging them up into more reasonable times. Actually, Sony, what about the Poliv press? Does it have carryover? Oh, I'm blanking right now on that movement. Let me see if my... Where's the... Come on. I just want to see positions. I don't want to see Poliv press. Images. Oh. Okay, so you're resisting rotation and pushing a band? I'm not mad at it. It fits the criteria of holding yourself in a neutral position and maintaining stability while going through some range of motion. Ashkay, it's 1 p.m. here in the afternoon. Well, now we're getting to the point where we get some more international friends, but the semi-locals, because it's 12:30 in the morning for me now. But Divier, funny, I've been doing planks and I have an ab wheel at home and never used it, but I noticed training extended core position helped a lot for squats as my upper back used to collapse and I used to brace a little crunched. Right. I'm not saying that they can't help. I would say that I would prefer something like an ab wheel that allows you to maintain a similar kind of core position without collapsing the upper back, as well as working from a pretty stable position into a fully extended position and then having to come back under control. So I would advocate for an ab rollout over a plank because I think you're doing more. And I like the idea of, in any kind of hypertrophy thing, you kind of want to be going through a range of motion, right? You want to work the muscle across a range of motion to get more interaction. Am international, brah? Yeah, I figured you from India. Yeah, it's this. I mean, when we started the stream at midnight last week, I think we had like 29 different countries represented, which is awesome. I feel honored that there's people from around the world hanging out with me in my little Pacific Northwest garage. Thanks for answering the questions. I appreciate you asking the questions and hanging out. This whole thing would be a lot less. I would not do this if there weren't other people in the chat asking questions and hanging out with me. Latvia, well, welcome, both of you. India, Latvia. We had Greece in here. We had so many different places. Oh. Yeah, I think we're getting ready to close it down, though. I finished the main training. I finished the deadlifts and the bench pressing. I'm going to do my ab wheel rollouts. I'm going to do some hammer curls, and I'm going to do some pull-ups. But I tend to cut those out of the stream because I go a lot faster when I just sort of superset those together. So if you guys have any last questions, just the last couple of minutes, and then I'll cut it, because otherwise it's going to be, it's already a long stream. It just lets me kind of finish up everything, but I want to answer any more questions that people have. So anybody have any last minute things, I'd like to get to them before saying goodnight to you guys. I might see if Jess is still awake and give her a call. Although my girlfriend has to open at Starbucks tomorrow at 4 in the morning, so she's probably in bed. I told her I was streaming, so she knows. But I'll let you guys ask any questions. Ask, what do you think is the reason for a big gap between squat and deadlift? Could be many things. Could be your leverages, could be the amount of strength that you have or development in any one muscle group. If you're have way more quad development, maybe your squat is going to be a little bit stronger than your deadlift. If you have really long femurs and a short torso, maybe your deadlift is going to benefit more than your squat. If your back strength is insane but you have weak legs, then you might be able to deadlift more. It could be a whole lot of things. It's Colin Diaz or McGregor. Ooh, I like that fight. I like seeing, because they seem way more. Connor puts out a lot of punishment, and Diaz takes a lot of punishment really well, and is really dangerous on the ground. So I like that matchup. I don't really have favorites in the fighting game. I tend to just enjoy watching kind of the art that happens between people trying to. It's sort of like the game of Joe Rogan always describes it as like a game of high stakes chess, of trying to find your position, find your moves to get in and get out, and to avoid getting knocked unconscious. So I'm not a fighter myself. I'm not a very aggressive person, but I can respect people who that's their livelihood and that's their thing that they do. Ask how your dead is way ahead of your squat. It can be a multitude of things. My advice, though, Akshay, is to continue to work on both, and maybe that just means you have more room for improvement on your squat. So, Divier, I'm very confused about volume dropping. As my bro is a 150-pound lifter, I want to cut volume 2.5 weeks out, but I don't know how much should I cut. I have cut volume about 4 weeks out for him before he peaked a little early in that situation. Was best 3 to 2.5 weeks out? I would recommend. The Strength Athlete did a podcast recently about peaking, and I think that is a very good watch for this. On YouTube, on Bryce Lewis's YouTube channel, The Strength Athlete, or TSA, look for their podcast that they did on peaking, and it will probably, in the hour and a half discussion they have about it, it will probably be more helpful than me trying to come up with a general answer to give you in this format, because they talk about different kinds of things for an extended period of time, and I think that talk would be very helpful with what you're asking. Stefan, good morning, lifters. Good morning. You coming right here at the end. You got any questions or anything you want to ask before we call it a night? I don't want to alienate anybody or keep anybody from having a chance to get their questions in, just because I know the time difference is a thing. So, woo. Where are we at? I'm finished with the main work. And just have a nice day. Will you as well? Thank you. I'm going to bed after this. I'm gonna do my accessories right as soon as we close out the stream, and then I'm gonna go get some naps, I think. Maybe check my Pokemon Go, see if anything spawned in my area, but probably not gonna stay up too much hunting. Oh man. Yep. I'm pretty happy. I think the stream stayed up a little better than it had in the past. I did a little bit more clearing on my computer to clear up some more space, and the OBS only dropped once or twice. If you have a nice one. See you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile. You guys have a good night. Okay, I think that's about it, guys. So thank you for anybody who's still around or anybody who came in or is watching this after the fact. I really appreciate you guys stopping in. I love doing this. I love these streams. I will have another video edited and posted tomorrow, and I will try to have another one ready for Monday as well. Now that the computer's up and running. But I greatly appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time out of your day, or a lot of bit of time out of your day if you watch the whole thing. to hang out with me while we did these lifts. And yeah, so wherever you're at around the world, I hope that you're having a great day, or continue having a great day, or have a great night, whatever is the situation that directly applies to you. And I will talk to you all very soon. Next stream will be Tuesday, and then we'll keep kind of, my goal right now is to stream on Tuesdays and on Saturdays, because it's way easier for me to kind of have the stream going on my deadlift workouts, not so much on the squat workouts where I just have to get through. That's way more mentally taxing for me, and I can't breathe as much in between sets. So thank you all so much. Next stream is on Tuesday. Stream after that will be next Saturday. I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.